The story begins with our protagonist, Yu Ji-tae, standing alone amidst the devastation of his sixth life. Once again, he has failed to stop the apocalypse, as monsters and dragons fill the horizon. A thought crosses his mind. Would things have been different had he listened to someone's advice? But he reassures himself that he holds no regrets over his decisions. Having reached his sixth life in this hellish world, Yu Ji-tae realizes that failure and experience are everything, as he uses the formless sword to carve his path. Refusing to surrender to his recurring fate, he charges bravely toward the giant dragons. He engages in a violent battle, relentlessly tearing through the bodies of the monsters and dragons that block his way. He stands exhausted atop the ruins, realizing that the endless hordes of monsters will never cease, no matter how many he kills. A message from the system appears before him, announcing that Earth has entered the apocalypse state, confirming his failure to save the planet. Despite the failure, giant golden clock gears appear in the sky as the authority of the vintage clock begins to turn back time. He closes his eyes, surrendering to the moment and believing his attempts were not meaningless. As the system announces the reset of the world's timeline, time rewinds and people gather in the streets of the modern city, staring in astonishment at a strange purple gate that has appeared in the sky, while some suggest calling the police in fear of the scene. A young man tries to calm his anxious companion, confidently claiming that it poses no danger to him. Suddenly, predatory monsters rush out of the gate, devouring the young man who is trying to take a commemorative photo amidst the horror of the bystanders. Phones drop and blood splatters as screams of panic rise. The 21st century suddenly transforms into a slaughterhouse as gates open all over the world, and armies of knights, monsters, and strange creatures begin to pour out. The flame of humanity seemed on the verge of extinguishing before this overwhelming invasion. But the discovery of a new spark of power within some humans opened a new era called the New Era. To face this constant threat, children showing exceptional potential were gathered from all over the world on an artificial floating island called Hateling for training. That city transformed into the Global Academy City, marking the founding of Lair. And as the seventh cycle began anew, the Returner arrived at that very place. In an alleyway, a criminal holds a woman hostage with a sharp weapon, screaming at everyone to stay back or he'll kill her, while the victim cries out in terror. Police forces surround him, ordering Jo Ho-shik to deactivate his ability and surrender immediately. But he stubbornly refuses, declaring he is doomed anyway, so he decides to take everyone down with him. Suddenly, Yu Ji-tae appears directly behind the criminal, calmly telling him that they ordered him to surrender. The criminal is stunned, having felt no presence behind him, wondering when this person arrived. He attacks violently, asking if Yu Ji-tae is also a cop. Yu Ji-tae gracefully dodges the attack, then delivers a powerful blow, declaring that he isn't just a cop, he is the police. The criminal slams into the ground with immense force and loses consciousness, while Yu Ji-tae mutters that he needs to control his strength. He looks at his hand, realizing he forgot about strength control in his role as Officer Yu Ji-tae of the Lair District Police Station. The next morning at the station, a colleague explains how the superhuman Jo Ho-shik was cornered in the shops after a chase, and how he took a citizen hostage. The colleague points in surprise at the criminal lying on the floor, asking why he is here. Yu Ji-tae answers coldly that he just picked him up on his way. A policewoman tries to ask for the incident report but hesitates, shyly thanking him instead, noting privately that Yu Ji-tae looks different, more handsome and taller than she remembers. Another officer approaches enthusiastically, confirming he heard about Jo Ho-shik's capture, but then anxiously scolds him for beating the criminal too harshly, fearing complaints. Yu Ji-tae appears indifferent. Yu Ji-tae looks around, seeing unfamiliar faces. They are all strangers to him, as he hasn't been to work once since the regression began. He hands the criminal over to his colleagues, asking them to handle the rest. The reason he abandoned his daily life and began regressing to stop the apocalypse is the death of the baby dragons. These young ones, who grew up in the other world Asclepa, come to Earth seeking entertainment and happy memories. But in that process, some went mad due to wars, lost control and died, while others collapsed, unable to bear the malice poured upon them. Some even stopped their own hearts after failing the missions entrusted to them. Enraged by their deaths, the adult dragons launched a devastating attack on humanity. Although the Returner became immensely powerful through his repeated lives, it wasn't enough to save the world alone. For this reason, in this regression, he decided to try a completely different method. As he prepares to leave, the policewoman stops him, asking about his plans after work, and shyly offers to have dinner together at a new restaurant. Yu Ji-tae politely declines, saying he has somewhere to be. When she asks where, he answers briefly, "I'm going to Europe." The scene shifts to Florence, Italy, where a green-haired girl is happily playing with children and making flower crowns, while Yu Ji-tae watches her from afar. Yu Ji-tai approaches the green-haired girl in the park and greets her. The girl turns to him with a look full of surprise, and he tells her with a serious and stern expression that she is coming with him. The girl activates the fallen babble ability to understand languages and returns his greeting hesitantly. She asks why he is looking for her, and he answers curtly that he has business with her. He then asks if she knows who she is, and he confirms that he does. He asks if she knows who he is. She clearly pronounces his name, Yu Ji-tai, and smiles innocently, asking if her answer is correct. Yu Ji-tai's expression shifts to suspicion, asking sharply how she knows his name. She points to the ID card on his clothes. He quickly realizes his name is clearly written on it. The girl laughs nervously, trying to salvage the situation, claiming she was joking and knows nothing about him or his work. She corrects herself, saying she realizes only one thing, that he possesses immense power and is someone who doesn't belong here at all. Yu Ji-tai falls silent for a moment. She asks if he came to kill her, but he denies it. She asks anxiously if it's a kidnapping, and he replies that it's something similar. The girl tries to play with words, joking about his intentions toward dragons, but he cuts her off sternly, telling her to stop the nonsense. He explains his true intention is to protect her in this dangerous world, warning her that he will use rough methods if she doesn't obey his words. He notes that the eyes of the Green Dragon clan can read divine providence, making her intuition and understanding of situations faster than others, hoping she will judge wisely given her origins. The girl smiles slyly, asking if he will treat her kindly if she behaves and listens well. Yu Ji-tai agrees to her request. She declares she understands she has no other choice, but conditions that he treat her as a guest in return. She winks playfully, asking him to promise, and extends her pinky finger toward him. Yu Ji-tai looks at her finger and deduces that she is scared of him. Before he obliges, they make the promise with their fingers, beginning a strange relationship between them. The scene shifts to the next morning. The girl peeks from behind the door in an oversized shirt, wondering if the master has woken up. She comes out to the living room to find Yu Ji-tai sitting surrounded by a strange black aura, so she calls out to him anxiously. He calmly orders the shadows, saying nothing bad will happen as long as they follow instructions, while the shadows take shape in front of him. The shadows materialize to form an exact replica of him, bowing, respectfully in obedience. The copy passes by the girl, who is stunned by the identical resemblance. Yu Ji-tai tells her not to mind it. It's just a substitute going to work in his place, then asks if she slept well. The girl sits next to him, realizing he won't go to work himself. He explains that the shadow clone is one of his abilities, meaning technically, he is the one working. Yu Ji-tai tells her he needs to stay by her side. She laughs nervously, saying she understands what he means. She suggests having breakfast to dispel the tense atmosphere and sits beside him while he reads the newspaper. She reminds him that he skipped dinner last night, and despite his initial refusal, she insists, expressing how strange it feels to eat alone while the owner of the house doesn't eat. Yu Ji-tai asks seriously if she is always so keen on eating, reminding her that dragons can survive without it. She answers with a playful smile, swinging her feet in relaxation, explaining that it's not about survival, but about the happiness and energy delicious food provides. Suddenly, she stands up enthusiastically, declaring that this situation won't do, and insists on going shopping, to show him the power of breakfast, ignoring his claim that he is fine. The two arrive at the large S-Mart store, where the girl turns heads with her beauty, and people start whispering about the handsomeness of the man accompanying her. She walks cheerfully, humming happily through the aisles, while he follows with a calm expression. Yu Ji-tai notices the large amount of purchases and asks if it isn't too much for just breakfast. She explains enthusiastically that the kitchen is completely empty and they need basics for future cooking. The girl wants to return to cook immediately, but Yu Ji-tai decides to drop the items at home and then go out to eat. He suddenly stops her, saying there is another place they must go as well, which surprises her. She looks a bit disappointed because she was enjoying the shopping, but he insists, explaining that it is too late for breakfast and there are essential things she needs to live here. He tells her they must hurry because they have a lot to do, which puzzles her. They arrive at a suspicious place, and the girl looks around inquiringly. An old man with a robotic eye appears, laughing slyly and asking Yu Ji-tai if this young lady is his girlfriend. Yu Ji-tai replies with a cold threat, telling him to shut his mouth and do his job if he doesn't want to lose his other eye. A short while later, the girl comes out holding an official ID card, expressing her sheer amazement at owning an ID for the first time. Yu Ji-tai is surprised by her talk, asking how she lived on Earth all this time without an identity or bank account. The girl examines the card and notices her name has become Yu Bomb, asking why he chose the name Bomb after giving her his family name. Yu Ji-tai points to the shop sign reading 4 Seasons, explaining that the name is inspired by the seasons. Since there are 4 dragons, he chose the name Bomb, Spring, for her. The girl smiles with overwhelming happiness, expressing her admiration for the name, thinking that spring is the season of life, and tells him her name is very beautiful. As they walk, she honestly admits that she is no longer afraid of him. Despite her words, her eyes and dragon constitution still see the dark aura surrounding him, warning her of his extreme danger. However, she tells him with a smile that she doesn't think he is a bad person. He asks seriously if she can determine that after just one day. She answers confidently, walking ahead of him, that her intuition is better than anyone else's because she belongs to the Green Dragon clan. Bomb asks with a bright smile if she can stay and watch him for a little longer. Yujite notices that sincere smile, which he hadn't seen from the Green Dragon in any of his previous regressions, and Bomb invites him to go have dinner and set the table. As they walk, he thinks to himself that this beginning isn't bad at all. The scene shifts to a barren land in the African continent under the moonlight, where a red-haired girl stands over her defeated opponent, mocking his claim of strength despite his quick fall before her. The girl steps with her military boot on the screaming man's face, indifferent to his threats or cries, and delivers a violent kick that silences him completely, breaking his bones. She laughs scornfully, addressing the body lying before her, wondering sarcastically if he died from the severity of her blows. Wearing a skull mask, she boasts about her energy-filled body and achieving her 199th victory without a single defeat, looking forward with longing and a savage smile to knowing the identity of her next opponent. Meanwhile, the news buzzes with reports of a massive armed conflict erupting in South Africa, where a terrorist group called Varkata is launching air raids, amidst rumors of a monster called the Night Fighter clashing with the South African Union. Yujitai watches these reports on his office screen, realizing the time has finally come to move. Bomb interrupts him, knocking on the door to remind him that it's time for dinner, so he agrees and decides to come out immediately. At the dinner table, Bomb presents a strange and horrifying dish containing whole fish stuck vertically into purple rice and asks Yu Jite for his opinion confidently. She explains that she was inspired by a sardine dish she saw in England, thinking that combining it with rice would make it suitable since Koreans rely on rice. However, the sight of the fish looking like it's screaming, "Just kill me," makes silence fall over the place, and signs of deep frustration appear on Yu Jite's face. While trying to eat, Yujite tells his companion of his intention to go get the red tomorrow. Bomb's expression shifts to shock. She warns him seriously about the difficulty of the task, emphasizing that bringing her will be extremely arduous, and she won't obey him easily as she did. He asks her to accompany him to help convince her, but she wonders about the point, given that different clans usually keep their distance. Yujite is surprised by their differing desires and goals. And Bomb explains that she prefers building slowly, while the Red Dragon clan is completely different. She explains that the Red Dragon clan loves war and violence and is obsessed with displays of power, warning that trying to subdue her by force would be dangerous, as surrender to them is a fate worse than death. Yu Jite reveals to her with seriousness and concern that delay will make things dangerous, explaining that a hunter is already chasing her, and the Red will inevitably die at this rate. He assures her that her accompanying him is the only way to resolve the matter peacefully without fighting. Bomb looks at him in astonishment, admitting she was surprised by his frank request for help, as she thought he was the type to carry all burdens alone no matter what. She smiles cheerfully, announcing her agreement to help, because she doesn't want her companion the Red to die either. However, she raises a finger slyly, noting that she has just one condition. Bomb insists, with a serious expression, that Yu Jitai eat all the food she served, revealing that she noticed him stop eating and quietly put down his spoon the moment the name, the Red, was mentioned. Yu Jite falls silent and looks down nervously, realizing that she has detected his hidden anxiety. The scene shifts to a devastated city, where soldiers' corpses are scattered everywhere, and the red-haired girl stands amidst the destruction. The girl looks down with contempt at one of the soldiers lying on the ground, wondering sarcastically why these men are so weak. She expresses her dissatisfaction that her 200th victory was this pathetic and wonders about her next destination, now that no one is left to fight in Africa, thinking of visiting the Green in Europe. Two soldiers appear behind a wall trembling with terror, describing the situation as madness. They talk about the entire elite squad being wiped out by a single girl, describing her as a battle-crazed monster. One of the soldiers realizes they cannot face her alone, muttering with hope that he will arrive quickly. Suddenly, the girl appears directly above them, mocking their whispering in the dark like suspicious people. The soldier turns in panic, screaming that she is behind them. She attacks them with lightning speed, and the soldier realizes it is too late. However, a bright golden light shines and blocks her attack, causing the girl to retreat, wondering in astonishment at the density of the mana she faced. The forces clash, creating a massive boom. The soldiers watch the scene in shock, unable to believe she managed to penetrate the mana with her weapon, confirming she is a true monster. A huge armored knight appears, wondering if this woman is the Knight Rakshasa, while the soldiers cheer the name of their savior, Javier. Javier Karma, ranked 8th as a superhuman in the African Union, orders his soldiers to evacuate the wounded and retreat while surrounded by a burning golden glow. The girl addresses him as Appa, mockingly, admitting his attack was heavy and powerful, and deduces that he is the boss. Javier notices that she is female and smaller than he expected, so she drops her sword, joking and asking if he has fallen in love with her too, pointing out that this is why she wears the mask. She tells Javier confidently that everyone gets distracted by the beauty of her face, so they don't fight properly, and Javier asks her why she doesn't surrender despite surely feeling the power gap between them. The girl laughs insanely, rejecting the idea of running away just because her weapon broke. She unleashes her internal power, declaring that she prefers fighting to the death over a shameful surrender. She rushes towards him with immense speed, delivering consecutive punches and kicks to his solid armor. The girl spots a gap in his defense and screams with excitement. She delivers a powerful and cheap shot to a sensitive area, but she is stunned and shocked to find that Javier didn't move or even blink despite the blow. Javier looks at her coldly, saying he guesses she has never fought anyone stronger than her before and that all her battles were easy and boring like games. His eye glows gold, declaring that her talent is amazing, but he is not someone who will play her little games. He raises his huge sword high, while the girl screams in terror as she barely dodges his attack. Javier unleashes the skill, Blade of Raw Ignition. The red-haired girl realizes in a split second that she is unable to dodge the incoming attack, so she braces her body for the collision as a bright light engulfs her. Her body slams with immense force into the rock wall behind her, causing destruction and sending rocks flying around her. In contrast, the armored knight Javier stands amidst the dust, admitting to himself that she is a true monster because she forced him to reinforce his arm in a split second to block and decides he needs to increase his attack power. The dust settles a little, and Javier looks at the shattered wall in surprise, wondering if the girl has escaped. Meanwhile, Bomb is hiding behind the rubble, holding the Red and covering her mouth with her hand to prevent her from making any sound. The Red looks at her sister in shock, wondering why she is here, so Bomb tells her quietly that she came to save her after hearing she was in trouble. The Red is annoyed by her interference, mocking the idea of Bomb coming to save her when she can't even fight, but Bomb warns her seriously that she might really die if she continues like this. The Red pushes her sister's hand away stubbornly, insisting that she will finish this fight to the end whether she dies or not, and asks her not to interfere. Bomb looks at her with a sharp and scary gaze, warning her and declaring that their fun will also end the moment she dies. While Bomb heals her sister's arm using her magic, she reminds her that her death doesn't concern her alone, and that she surely doesn't want to ruin the clan's entertainment on Earth. Bomb smiles gently and innocently, confirming her desire to stay on Earth, and asks her sister for help. The Red falls silent for a moment, realizing that her opponent is insanely strong and will catch them the moment they run, but Bomb reassures her that the old man will handle it. The girl is surprised by the presence of someone else with her, and Bomb confirms with a confident smile that she didn't come alone. Suddenly, Yu Jitai appears on the battlefield. Javier turns towards him, wondering about the identity of this intruder. Yu Jitai stands firmly with an aura of power surrounding him, answering briefly that he is her guardian. Javier mocks the answer, pointing out that Yu Jitai's actions and appearance don't suggest he is someone who needs protection, while Yu Jitai looks at him coldly. The Red peeks her head out from behind the wall, asking if this is the man her sister spoke about, so Bomb orders her to hide because the situation is dangerous. Yu Jitai tries to calm the situation, telling the knight that things are complicated and suggesting they stop here. Javier refuses the proposal angrily, considering that the girl has crossed the line and her actions cannot be overlooked, to which Yu Jitai replies that she hasn't killed anyone. The knight's anger flares, warning Yu Jitai not to play with words with him. Yu Jitai tries to negotiate again, promising that the girl will not appear here again, and asking him if he can let the matter pass quietly. Javier flies into a rage, refusing to back down quietly, and declaring that this area is under the jurisdiction of the African Union while charging his sword with immense energy. He announces that as a Union investigator, he will arrest Yu Jitai and the girl he claims guardianship over, activating his combat ability. He lets out a resounding scream and brings down his sword, radiating destructive golden energy towards Yu Jitai. The attack causes an explosion and rising smoke, and Javier addresses his opponent amidst the dust, saying that if he is truly the guardian of that monster, he won't die from an attack like this. Yu Jitai appears behind him without a scratch, surrounded by a dark aura, and mutters with boredom, "How tiring." He whispers scornfully that he is not flexible at all for someone ranked 8th among superhumans. Javier is struck with terror, wondering when this man arrived behind him. And before the knight can unleash the Blade of Raw skill, Yu Jitai breaches his defenses in the blink of an eye, delivering a blow that cuts off the hand holding the sword. Tai approaches Javier slowly, whispering coldly for him to listen well, because this is the worst day of his life. He explains to him that as an investigator he tried to arrest that girl, but unfortunately for him, he encountered an unknown monster. And due to his bad luck, he failed to block the first blow, leading to the loss of his arms and eyes, and the escape of the monster and the girl together. Javier screams, begging him to wait, but Tai continues his harsh words, assuring him that he will forget this truth soon. Tai cuts off the knight's other arm and eyes with a single bloody strike, noting to himself that the healing-type superhumans in the Union can restore his limbs as long as he remains alive. Tai instills terror in his opponent's heart, believing that fear engraved in the mind lasts forever, which is his preferred method of control. He assures himself that even the violent young dragon calling itself the Night Fighter is no exception to this rule. The Red looks at the scene in horror and astonishment, asking Bomb what that monster is. Bomb answers calmly that he is not a monster but a human, to which the Red mocks, saying she would be a lizard if that creature were human. Tai turns to them, addressing the Red as Red Dragon, and informs her sternly that from now on she will live in his house and under his protection. He promises to grant her freedom within reason and provide support if she needs it. But he suddenly changes his tone, and his features darken as he threatens her with dire consequences if she crosses his boundaries. The Red trembles in fear, and Bomb tries to calm the situation, promising to explain the details later. The Red screams, wondering why he acts so scary, while Bomb winks at him playfully. Tai gives her the name Yo Reum, Summer, and orders her to remember it, then leaves the place, leaving the two girls to follow him. Bomb whispers to her companion jokingly that she has grown since their last meeting, to which the Red replies with annoyance that she is not in the mood for jokes. Tai's shadow announces the mission is complete. The scene shifts at the same time to the Amazon rainforest, where the real Tai sits with a beautiful blonde girl. He ends his connection with his shadow copy, muttering, "Good job." He reflects that sending Bomb was the right decision because the Red is a wild child and he wouldn't have convinced her easily on his own. The blonde girl interrupts him curiously, asking who he was talking to. She laughs cheerfully, pointing at his smartwatch, wondering if he usually talks to himself, while her title, The Golden Dragon, appears. This girl, who naturally loves attention, lived 3 lives shining like a star. But the irony is that her most brilliant life was the one where she caused the greatest disasters. Attention and admiration are dazzling but toxic, which is why she chose to live in this remote place, even though she came for the game. The girl approaches Tai with intense fascination, expressing her admiration for the floating screen and picture quality. She dances around him happily, noting that the previous person she saw didn't own anything like this. Tai asks her seriously why she is in a place like this. He tells her that if she came for the game, she should have lived among humans, not in a forest full of monsters and insects. The girl is surprised he knows about the game, so he tells her that he knows from the Green Dragon. Tai asks the blonde girl, the Golden Dragon, if she is afraid of humans. The girl hesitates a little before admitting nervously that she isn't exactly terrified, but her previous experience living among them was bad. She explains that some looked at her strangely, while others chased her constantly, which made it scary for her. The two fall silent for a moment as she recalls those uncomfortable memories. Tai breaks the silence by asking her if she likes bread, to which she replies in surprise that dragons don't need to eat. But he uses the shallow abyss ability to take out a bag emitting a delicious smell, which astonishes her. She approaches curiously to smell it, realizing with amazement that it is real fresh bread. Tai confirms this, while her eyes widen in fascination at the golden pastries. She drools seeing the donuts, berry tarts, and egg tarts, asking in shock why he brought such a large quantity. Tai seizes the opportunity to invite her to accompany him instead of staying in this desolate forest. He reassures her that her friends are there, and the place is safe, advising her to enjoy her game, like the other dragons. The girl hesitates while wiping her drool, remembering her mother's warning not to follow strangers. Tai turns his back coldly, telling her that he will buy her macarons. Her resistance collapses immediately, ignoring all warnings. The scene shifts to the city where the Red stands on the balcony amidst falling leaves, with signs of annoyance on her face. She remembers her previous meeting with Tai, muttering something with irritation. Bomb stands inside the apartment, watching the Red from within. Tai enters the apartment with the barefoot blonde girl, who tells him enthusiastically that she only followed him because the sausage bread was much tastier than the finest sausages in their world. Ascalipa. She takes a bite of a macaron, her eyes shining brightly. She describes the taste as a taste of heaven due to the crunchy exterior and soft interior. Bomb welcomes Tai back, and the blonde responds with a full mouth. Suddenly, the blonde screams with extreme excitement upon seeing Bomb. She hugs her tightly and affectionately, expressing how much she missed her, and comments that the girl has become even more beautiful since their last meeting. The girl asks curiously if she lives here alone with the mister, so Bomb explains that she hasn't been here long either, and points out the presence of the Red nearby. Meanwhile, Yu Jitae stands in front of his shadow copy that returned from the mission, thanking it for the hard work before ordering it to return. The Red peeks from the balcony door with an angry expression, and Yu Jitae exchanges silent glances with her before she looks away. The blonde spots her and shouts her name loudly and cheerfully. The blonde approaches the Red, but smells the scent of smoke and comments with disgust on the Red Dragon clan's love for things harmful to the body. With a quick and violent movement, the Red clamps her hand over the blonde's mouth. The Red screams in her face, threatening to rip her out by the roots if she doesn't stop the chatter that gets on her nerves, proving to everyone that her violent nature hasn't changed. Yu Jitae sits in front of the three girls in the living room, asking them a direct question about their ages. Bomb answers with a calm smile that she is 20, while the blonde girl announces cheerfully that she is 10. And Bomb adds that Yo Reum is 15. Yo Reum sits quietly with her hand on her cheek, showing no interest while listening to the conversation. The blonde objects enthusiastically, explaining that dragons grow faster than humans, and boasts about her body, saying there is no need to treat her like a child. Yo Reum comments that the blonde does have something to be proud of. The blonde changes the subject curiously, asking Yo Reum about her name, and if it is a pseudonym, to which Yo Reum replies indifferently that she knows nothing about that. Bomb intervenes to explain shyly that the master is the one who gave her that name, and that her name has become Bomb. The blonde is stunned, disapproving of how he could give them names when they haven't undergone the coming-of-age ceremony yet, considering names to be something precious, not simply given. The blonde quickly deduces that since the names are linked to the seasons, her role would be Gayul, autumn, and Yu Jitae confirms this, announcing that her name from now on is Yu Gayul. Yu Jitae suddenly points to the necklace Gayul is wearing, telling her that when that little one is born, she must name it Gyul, winter, which shocks her severely. He explains to her that he knows the necklace is actually a polymorphed blue dragon egg and advises her to take good care of it because it will hatch soon. Gayul is dazzled by his vast knowledge despite being a human and asks him curiously how he knew all that, but he cuts her off saying she doesn't need to know the reason. Yu Jitae returns to his serious expression, addressing everyone that there is only one rule to follow from now on. He tells them to enjoy the entertainment of life on Earth, but on the condition that they do not step outside the fence he has set, explaining that this means not disappearing from his sight. Yo Reum grumbles about this condition, calling him a dictator. The three girls sit together on the sofa in awkward silence, so Yo Reum asks them sharply if they have a problem. The girls implicitly agree that playing nearby will be enough and acceptable. Bomb enthusiastically suggests going out for a bit to get ID cards and buy some necessities, since they will be living here. Gayul gets excited about the idea, while Yo Reum wonders sarcastically about money, joking that stealing from people sounds fun. Yu Jitae gives Bomb a luxurious black card, reassuring everyone not to worry about money and to go enjoy themselves. Bomb thanks Yu Jitae and asks him about the spending limit allowed for them. Yu Jitae answers calmly and confidently, "As much as you want." The girls embark on a crazy shopping spree, filling the shopping cart with clothes and various items. Notifications flood Yu Jitae's smartwatch with huge amounts, reaching tens of millions until exceeding the limit. Everyone returns home loaded with boxes and bags, where Yo Reum carries a new sword and shows it off, while Gayul looks happy with her new clothes. Bomb returns the card to Yu Jitae apologetically, worried that she spent too much money. She admits to him with regret that she intended to buy clothes for him too, but the card reached its maximum limit, so he reassures her that it's fine. Gayul calls him, suddenly asking him to look at her. Gayul shows off her new trendy clothes, boasting about the amount of beautiful clothes she bought. Gayul pulls out a shirt matching his clothes, telling him with a broad smile that she bought this one too with the same design. He tells her it suits her, so Gayul thanks him enthusiastically. In the background, Yo Reum is seen examining the sword she bought, while Yu Jitae observes their different behaviors. Yo Reum proudly shows off her new sword, noting that it's a good replacement for her broken one, and asks Yu Jitae for his opinion. He asks if she likes it, considering she bought a high-quality blade. She comments coldly that at least it isn't trash, while he and Bomb watch her in silence. Suddenly, Gayul runs toward Yo Reum holding bags of clothes, excitedly telling her she bought her some too, and asking her to try them on. But Yo Reum angrily refuses, snapping that she isn't her big sister and doesn't need them. Bomb comments to Yu Jitae that Yo Reum is bad at expressing her feelings but is surely grateful, to which Yu Jitae smiles, saying that's good to hear. Yu Jitae notices that Bomb is the only one who returned empty-handed and asks her about it. Bomb points to the kitchen table, where she has placed a small pot of rosemary. Bomb explains to Yu Ji-tae that raising plants gives a good feeling, and he asks what she means. She answers with a warm smile while holding the pot, saying that plants bloom and create memories that last forever. Then she suddenly remembers a question she had been meaning to ask. She asks if there is a way to fully enjoy the entertainment of life on Earth within the fence he imposed, since entertainment for them isn't just eating and playing. Yu Ji-tae confirms that there is a way. He appears holding an enrollment form and asks them seriously if they would like to go to school. Yo Reum and Gayul are stunned by the sudden proposal. Later, the three girls return home after their admission interviews, looking visibly exhausted. Gail feels a sudden wave of anxiety and shares a terrifying thought with Yeo Reum. She fearfully wonders if she will be the only one to fail while the others succeed. Annoyed by her pessimism, Yeo Reum asks someone to silence her with a piece of bread. Gail turns to Yu Ji-tae with teary eyes, asking if she will fail because she is a pig, but he reassures her that everyone did their best in the interview. However, Gail surprises him with a dramatic breakdown, wailing that she thinks she failed. Yu Ji-tae carries her, while assuring her she won't fail, as Bomb asks him where he had gone. Yu Ji-tae tells her he went to pick something up and pulls out a box, emitting a delicious aroma. Gail opens the box to reveal fried chicken, her eyes sparkling, with fascination as she asks if it's bread or macarons. Yu Ji-tae tells her it's something she will love even more than that. Yu Ji-tae recalls a TV show that hosted the world star Bae, Gaeul's alias in her past life, where she was asked about her favorite food. The host explains that the show features top chefs cooking the guests' favorite dishes live. Laughing, the host asks about her favorite food, amidst rumors that she lives on nothing but morning dew. Gaeul laughs, denying the rumor and confirming she is human too, before enthusiastically thinking about her favorite food. Fried chicken and soda appear on the table. The girls stare at the food with voracious appetites, and Yeo Reum mocks Gaeul, pointing out that she claimed it was her favorite food, yet looks like she's seeing it for the first time. Gaeul enthusiastically announces that she has decided to make it her favorite food starting now. Yeo Reum comments that it's just fried chicken, while Yu Ji-tae leaves the room, letting them enjoy the aroma. Bomb stops him, asking if he will eat with them, but he gently refuses, telling them to go ahead. But Bomb blushes and insists with a cute pout, asking him to join them. Yu Ji-tae receives a phone call from the Lair administration office while standing on the balcony. The caller confirms his identity as the student's guardian, mentioning a problem regarding the recent interview. Yu Ji-tae confirms his identity, and the caller explains that the reason for the call is an unexpected development. Yu Ji-tae asks in surprise about the nature of the problem, especially since he hadn't heard anything from Bomb regarding this. The caller reveals the surprise. The student Yu Bomb received a perfect score in the candidate selection interview. The caller adds that the interviewers praised her unanimously, suggesting she be the student representative to take the oath at this year's entrance ceremony. He explains that they made the offer to her directly due to their excitement. Meanwhile, Bomb and Gaeul are shown happily eating chicken, but the problem is that Bomb refused the offer. The caller asks Yu Ji-tae to try and convince her since it is a great opportunity, but he firmly refuses, stating he has no desire to do so and fully respects the child's wishes. Yu Ji-tae ends the call, and Yeo Reum appears behind him brushing her teeth, asking curiously who was on the phone. He tells her coldly that the call was about the green, and asks her to call her by her name, Bomb. Yeo Reum mocks the name, calling it embarrassing and sarcastically wondering if they are playing house. Then she sharply asks him what his real goal is with all of this. She pauses for a moment, then asks him directly why he sent them to Lair. Yu Ji-tae simply answers that he wants them to do whatever they like. She replies with a sharp, defiant look that what she wants is to fight. She asks if there are strong people at that school. He confirms that the elite from all over the world gather there. She mocks them as annoying brats, only for him to remind her that she is a child in this world too. Yeo Reum smashes the edge of the balcony with her hand and challenges him to a real fight. Yeo Reum acknowledges his immense power, but expresses curiosity about its extent, threatening that he must demonstrate his strength properly if he wants to keep her under control. Yu Ji-tae looks at her with total coldness and tells her to forget it and go eat chicken, infuriating her as she calls him boring. She rudely flips him off, cursing him and expressing her indignation. Gaeul appears behind her, trying to feed her a piece of chicken to calm her down, but Yeo Reum screams in her face, refusing to eat. Suddenly, Yeo Reum bites into the piece, and her expression completely shifts to shock at the delicious taste. Lair is introduced as an educational institution built on a massive floating island called Hatelings that orbits the world. It is a school for superhuman children who possess various blessings and abilities. However, most students educated at Lair are children of wealthy families, famous clans, and the elite. This sparks widespread public criticism that they are creating a world exclusive to those with power and money. Gail and Baum walk through the school campus, where Gail expresses her admiration for the place, noting how difficult it is for the public to enter. Gail wonders if Yu Jitai is the heir to a huge hidden fortune since he spends so much money without complaint, and Baum agrees, saying it's possible given his demeanor. Gail jumps happily, expressing her joy at everyone's success and her admiration for the elegant school uniform. Gail suddenly notices the absence of Yo Reum and Yu Jitai and wonders where they are. Baum explains that Yo Reum went to the Blue Dragon dorms for her practical interview, and Yu Jitai accompanied her as her guardian. The reason is that the cadet superhumans at Lair are not yet mentally mature, so adults from institutions or families accompany them to keep them in check. Gail comments that makes sense since leaving Yo Reum alone could be dangerous, while Baum notes that the track Yo Reum applied for involves fighting and dueling between students. Gail gets very excited, enthusiastically suggesting they go watch it if possible, but Baum sadly recalls that she already asked, and her request was denied. Gail is clearly shocked and disappointed, wondering with a childish pout why it was forbidden. Baum answers calmly, explaining that all of them going would cause chaos. Meanwhile, students around them whisper curiously about their identities and family, dazzled by their striking beauty. The scene shifts to the Changchun Hall at the Blue Dragon Academy, where a violent confrontation is taking place inside the ring. Competitors exchange blows with wooden swords amidst the crowd's cheers, while Yu Jite sits with a cold expression among them. A coach or guardian screams at the competitors, ordering them to fight as they were taught. A long-haired man intervenes with a tense smile, asking the guardians to calm down and consider the candidates' feelings so as not to increase their stress. The man heads directly toward Yu Jitai. Someone recognizes him and apologizes for the delay in introducing himself. He introduces himself with dignity as Wei Yan, the head professor of the Blue Dragon Academy, expressing his anticipation to work with the guardians. Other guardians show great admiration for his character and kindness, while Yu Jitai remains silent. The attendees whisper, noting that he isn't just a wealthy and powerful figure, but also a war hero. The announcer's voice booms, announcing the entry of number 124 and number 7, causing Yu Jitai to narrow his eyes in focus. Yo Reum enters the ring holding her wooden sword, muttering to herself in boredom, hoping this match won't be dull. She glares at her blonde opponent, swearing she will really run away from home if the fight isn't fun. The audience enthusiastically wonders who will win, Sofia Volkova or the red-haired girl. The attendees are divided in their opinions. One remarks that the red-haired girl is his type, while his friend scolds him, insisting the question is about the winner, not attraction. The friend confidently asserts that Sophia will surely win, revealing she was part of the RIL forces even before becoming a student. A terrifying background is shown regarding the RIL forces, the Russian Special Airborne Hunter Forces, which played a major role during the Great War. These forces are infamous for their brutal training methods, which border on torture. A hulking man screams from the stands, her guardian, loudly motivating her and reminding her that expectations are very high. The man's enthusiastic shouts continue, while Sophia stands in the ring, feeling extremely embarrassed by his behavior. Yo Reum notices the situation and comments sarcastically that her father seems to be in a panic. Yo Reum continues provoking her opponent, suggesting she withdraw and run to her father's arms, calling her daddy's girl, with stinging sarcasm. Sophia's expression suddenly shifts to complete seriousness, issuing a cold warning to her opponent to shut her mouth. Sophia's eyes widen in anger as she threatens Yo Reum that she won't leave alive if she keeps talking. Yo Reum smiles a savage, crazy smile, challenging her to try her luck just once. The audience notices the murderous look in the competitor's eyes, commenting that it's expected from someone in the RIL, but they also admit the red-haired girl looks tough and strong. Yu Jite in the stands and the two girls in the ring adopt a posture of readiness and anticipation. The starting bell rings, and Sophia rushes at Yo Reum with immense speed. The girls clash violently. Yo Reum manages to block the attack skillfully, commenting with a sly smile that her opponent's speed isn't bad. With a lightning-fast move, Yo Reum launches a sweeping counterattack with her stick, screaming enthusiastically to let her opponent taste her strike. Sophia rushes in with a sudden fast attack, which Yo Reum blocks with difficulty. But Sophia's foot manages to tear Yo Reum's shirt. Yo Reum screams with anger and intense dismay upon seeing her new clothes torn. She scolds her opponent sharply, noting she hasn't owned this outfit long enough for it to be ruined like this. But Sophia pursues her with violent close-quarters attacks, forcing her to retreat. The fight rages on as the girls exchange attacks and blocks with amazing speed and force, echoing through the hall. Sophia aims a low kick, but Yo Reum jumps high to gracefully dodge it, pushing off the ring's iron fence with her foot. Rayum descends from above, aiming a crushing blow with her sword at her opponent's head. Sophia raises both hands to block the violent attack coming from above. But the immense force of the blow makes her arms tremble, and she mutters in pain under the intense pressure. Rayum seizes the opportunity to continue her onslaught, forcing Sophia into a purely defensive stance and making her retreat. However, Rayum moves with lightning speed and appears behind her. Sophia looks behind her in shock. Rayum calls out to her, mocking her hairstyle and calling her striped bangs. She asks with a savage smile if she really thought she was strong just because she was going easy on her at the start, all while preparing a devastating punch. Rayum rains brutal blows on Sophia, landing precise and violent strikes that knock her to the ground and shatter her defenses. Sophia coughs up blood in agony, unable to rise as Rayum stands over her. Rayum points her sword at Sophia's face, and the referee announces the end of the match with a victory for candidate 124. Rayum laughs mockingly, noting that Sophia acted tough and claimed to be strong, but turned out to be extremely weak in the end. Sophia's eyes widen in horror and shock, unable to process what happened or respond to the insult. The audience begins to whisper sarcastically, expressing their disappointment in the so-called elite gathered by the school, while Sophia's guardian anxiously runs toward the ring, screaming her name. Students whisper that Sophia was completely and violently crushed, even though the start looked evenly matched. One notes in amazement that the red-haired girl didn't take a single effective hit, but was literally toying with her opponent. Everyone wonders about Rayum's immense power, describing Sophia as an easy defeat and a disappointment. The insults grow harsher as some suggest Sophia was admitted for promotional purposes due to her beauty rather than her fighting ability. Meanwhile, a nurse tries to treat her with magical green light. Sophia bows her head, hair covering her eyes, as the audience describes her as a fragile glass cannon that breaks easily. The nurse informs the guardian that she has administered first aid, but the girl's arms are broken and will need time to heal. The guardian clenches his fist, while Sophia continues to tremble silently, reassuring him that she is still fine and can continue fighting. Her guardian tries to comfort her with a sad smile, saying she did her best and her current strength just wasn't enough to defeat that girl. He assures her he isn't disappointed and that facing a strong opponent now might be a blessing in disguise. He continues his philosophical speech with a reassuring smile about how the experience of defeat makes people stronger in the future. The nurse tries nervously to interrupt him to draw his attention to something behind him while he prepares to submit the report to the officials, believing the matter is over. Suddenly, Sophia rises behind them, clutching a knife, muttering in a terrifying voice with eyes gleaming with madness that she didn't withdraw, only retreated for a moment, refusing to admit defeat. Sophia tells her guardian that she is fine. Rayum starts to leave the ring, believing the duel is over, when Sophia asks sarcastically where she thinks she is going, as it isn't over yet. Sophia rushes madly, attempting to stab Rayum with the real knife she took from her guardian. Tae watches the scene from the stands with a dark gaze and utter silence, not moving a muscle. Anger ignites in Rayum's eyes as she looks at her opponent, muttering angry curses. Sophia screams at the top of her lungs as she attacks fiercely, declaring her intention to kill that girl. The audience and professors are panic-stricken as the match turns into a bloodbath, while Tae remains seated with eerie calm. Sophia forcefully pushes Rayum out of the ring, and they fall to the ground. Rayum pulls the knife from her body, realizing her opponent wants to fight to the death, and decides to oblige her. Sophia's eyes widen with madness as she screams at her to die, launching a sweeping attack. Rayum tries to defend herself, but Sophia's speed and rage give her the upper hand at first. However, she manages to dodge the attack at the last moment. Rayum grabs Sophia's hair with violent force, making the latter scream in pain. Rayum tells her opponent in a terrifying voice that she is as good as dead, while a frightening red aura surrounds her. Rayum delivers a devastating direct punch to Sophia's face. She rains consecutive punches on her without mercy, blood splattering everywhere, amidst the shock of students who wonder why no one intervenes to stop the violence. Rayum lands a final powerful blow that knocks Sophia to the ground unconscious, blood covering her face. Rayum pants, but announces that it isn't over yet. Picking up the knife that fell from Sophia, she approaches Sophia's body, eyes glowing with vengeance, declaring she will pay her back twofold in the same way. Suddenly, Sophia's massive guardian intervenes, grabbing Rayum's hand to stop the stab, screaming at her to stop because she has done enough. Wei Yan intervenes immediately with a loud voice, ordering the mages to open a cross space and suspend the interview. A bright blue light shines from the ground, and the spell Creation Cross Space begins to work, separating those in the ring. Rayum screams in anger, asking why she is the only one being scolded, pointing out that Sophia stabbed her first. The man replies that she tried to kill Sophia in revenge. Yo Rayum argues sharply with the man, asserting that with his physical strength, he could have stopped her without hurting anyone, refusing to stand idly by and take the hits. Wei Yan intervenes to calm the tense situation, asking the man to take care of his daughter first before speaking. Wei Yan turns to Yeo Reum with a calm smile, informing her that their assistant has gone to fetch her guardian, and suggesting she receive treatment quietly in the meantime. Yeo Reum snaps at him, refusing to stay silent as she is still angry. Wei Yan whispers that he saw everything and fully understands her feelings, but he cannot allow things to get worse. Yeo Reum looks at him in surprise and question. Wei Yan steps closer and threatens her clearly, saying that if the situation escalates further, he won't be able to protect her, and her entire family could get into trouble. Wei Yan slyly mentions the Yu family name, hinting that he knows Yeo Reum is not the only one from that family here. He issues a stern warning to Yeo Reum that her friends might get hurt because of her actions if she doesn't calm down. Wei Yan addresses Yeo Reum with a tone carrying a kind of veiled threat, noting that she won't feel comfortable in this situation. He smiles slyly as he tells her she has to wait until her guardian arrives. Suddenly, Yu Jitae asks him not to look for him, announcing that her guardian has already arrived as Yu Jitae appears crossing the barrier easily. Yu Jitae scolds Wei Yan immediately upon arrival, asking him to stop bothering the injured child and talk to him directly. Yeo Reum looks with shock mixed with relief to see Yu Jitae, while Wei Yan seems surprised by his speed. The scene shifts to a luxurious office in a high-rise building where famous black Chinese tea from Taiwan is served. Wei Yan says with a diplomatic smile that tea helps calm the mind, trying to soften the tense atmosphere. In his heart, Wei Yan analyzes the situation, realizing that Yu Jitae crossed through the cross space as if it were nothing, confirming he is a very high-ranking awakened. However, he feels puzzled because he has never heard of this Yu family and decides he needs to investigate them later. The three, Yu Jitae, Wei Yan, and Sophia's huge guardian, Mikhailov, sit around the table as Wei Yan starts the conversation with a nervous laugh, apologizing for what happened to both guardians. He gives them the good news that neither girl was seriously hurt, explaining that Sophia is receiving treatment while Yeo Reum has already left the hospital. Wei Yan suggests closing the subject and not blowing it up, especially since the girls will see each other at the academy, offering to handle the rest if the guardians agree. Mikhailov remains silent for a moment with eyes closed, then admits it started on their side, so he will apologize first, introducing himself as Sophia's guardian. He justifies Sophia's behavior, saying she is still young and immature, which is why her emotions took over this time. Yu Jitae looks at him with total coldness, declaring clearly that he won't accept an apology from another guardian on behalf of the girl. Mikhailov jumps up angrily, while Yu Jitae continues sipping tea calmly, asserting that an apology through someone else means nothing. Mikhailov hits his chest in anger, calling Yu Jitae stubborn, and wondering if he's acting tough because he doesn't know who he works for. Yu Jitae gives him a sharp look saying they aren't the same, asking sarcastically if this is how people apologize where he comes from. Mikhailov flies into a rage and asks defiantly if he wants him to bring the injured girl and force her to say she is sorry to be satisfied. Yu Jitae answers with provoking coldness that if that's what he wants, he should do it. The atmosphere becomes extremely tense, and Wei Yan tries to intervene with a very anxious smile, asking both parties to calm down. Yu Jitae clarifies his stance, saying he didn't come here for the girl, but to know why Mikhailov didn't intervene to stop the child who pulled a huge sword and attacked. Mikhailov yells, trying to justify his position that it happened too fast. Yu Jitae interrupts him, calling that a pathetic excuse, and asks sharply if he isn't ashamed to hide behind a child to justify his own failure. Mikhailov stomps the ground violently and grabs Yu Jitae's collar, warning him that he's trying to be nice but his patience has limits. He threatens him with a low, terrifying voice, asking if he really wants to start a feud with the RIL organization in such a small country, while emitting massive blue energy. Mikhailov continues his threat, mocking the unknown Yu family that speaks so arrogantly. Suddenly, Mikhailov notices something that makes him freeze, while Yu Jitae comments calmly that his greatsword was very sharp, and one wrong move would have led to a bad result. Mikhailov looks in shock to find Yu Jitae holding his private dagger, wondering in amazement when he took it. Yu Jitae answers that the sheath was too loose, making it easy to pull without being noticed, despite Mikhailov's claim he was fully alert. Suddenly, Yu Jitae appears behind him, and Yu Jitae whispers in Mikhailov's ear with a terrifying and direct threat as he leaves, to stick to walking on crowded streets. Yu Jitae leaves the dagger on the table indifferently, announcing to the terrified Mikhailov that it's over, and he will leave now. Mikhailov watches him leave with eyes bulging from shock and fear, while Wei Yan lets out a long, deep sigh, as if a heavy burden was lifted after escaping a certain disaster. Yu Jitae exits the room to find Yo Ryum waiting for him in the corridor. He asks her calmly if she is okay. She answers while walking beside him confidently that it's just a small scratch, boasting about the Red Dragon clan's toughness. Yu Jitae comments briefly that that's good, but Yo Ryum's expression changes suddenly, and she falls silent for a bit. She stops and looks at him nervously, asking him in a quiet voice if he thinks she was also wrong in what she did. She lowers her head, admitting she feels like all this mess happened because of her. She scratches her head awkwardly, explaining that she is very angry and feels wronged, but realizes she probably should have acted more maturely like an adult. Yu Jitae interrupts her with serious features, denying that and assuring her she did well, which surprises her. Yu Jitae completes his advice with deadly coldness, saying that next time she should just finish them off in a place where no one can see her. Yo Ryum's face brightens with an evil, satisfied smile, realizing they are on the same wavelength. She reminds him as she hurries to catch up that he said that, warning him not to regret it later. He answers confidently that he won't. Yu Jitae changes the subject suddenly, asking her to pack her bags once they get home. She asks in surprise where they are going. He tells her they are moving to live in Lair, Academy dorms, and Yo Ryum remembers sarcastically how Gaiul, the yellow chick, was chirping with happiness at this news. Suddenly a voice calls out, "Guardian Yu Jitae," stopping them, and the two turn around. Wei Yan appears behind them with a friendly smile, asking to speak with them for a moment. Yu Jitae tells him coldly he thought their talk was over, but Wei Yan insists, explaining he has something he strongly wishes to say, and it concerns the student Yo Ryum, too. Yo Ryum complains, putting her finger in her ear, expressing her hatred for hearing more scolding, but Wei Yan laughs, confirming he is trying to make her a good offer. Wei Yan drops the surprise, asking Yo Ryum if she would like to become the freshman representative at the Blue Dragon Academy. He paints a bright future for her, explaining she would literally become the face of the academy, receive a huge scholarship and rare artifacts, in addition to media exposure. Yu Jitae questions the matter, asking the professor if he has the authority to make such a sudden offer alone, but Wei Yan reassures him. Wei Yan reveals confidently that he is very close to the vice principal, Ma Nam-jun, causing Yu Jitae's expression to freeze and darken suddenly. Wei Yan asks Yu Jitae to think about it carefully, confirming such a chance won't come again. At that moment, Yu Jitae realizes the real reason behind Wei Yan's closeness to vice principal Ma Nam-jun. Both are demons, Majin. The concept of demons, Majin, is explained humans who accepted the abyss, unlike superhumans who received divine protection. These demons are characterized by a blind desire for rage, killing intent, and a lust to destroy humans. Because of these demons, the world faced a great threat, and Yu Jitae lost very precious things because of them in his first and second lives. That is why, when Wei Yan first appeared before him, Yu Jitae imagined beating him to death countless times. But he endured and was patient time after time. Yu Jitae looks at Wei Yan with a mysterious gaze, deciding internally that this man must carry more burdens before he dies, then answers aloud that he understands what he is saying. Yu Jitae assures Wei Yan that the opinion of the person concerned is most important, noting he is just a guardian in the end. Wei Yan agrees with a confident laugh, confirming everything ultimately depends on the student's choice. He addresses Yo Ryum directly, telling her there are many changes coming to the Blue Dragon Academy, and expressing his strong desire for her to lead them as the student representative at the year-end event. Wei Yan holds Yo Ryum's hand with a look full of expectation, asking her to help him draw the future together. But Yo Ryum shocks him with a decisive and direct refusal, saying with a stone-faced expression that she doesn't want to. Wei Yan is stunned and asks if he heard wrong, so she confirms coldly that he heard perfectly correctly. Yo Ryum turns to Yu Jitae, suggesting they go home to pack. So Wei Yan asks with suppressed anger why she came to the interview in the first place if she was going to refuse. Yo Ryum answers indifferently that she was lying in her room, felt bored, so decided to come to pick a fight and entertain herself. Veins of anger appear clearly on Wei Yan's face as he tries to control his temper before this provoking answer. Wei Yan asks Yo Ryum to look down through the glass window. A large crowd of journalists and reporters appears gathered below. Wei Yan explains slyly that these are reporters from different countries who came to hear his opinion alone regarding the stabbing incident today. He issues a direct threat that her life and future inside Lair depend on a single word that will come out of his mouth now, asking if she understands the situation. Yo Ryum turns her back on him, indifferent to his threat, and tells him simply that she won't do it, then bids him farewell and leaves. Wei Yan glares at her with a hateful dark look as she walks away, wishing in a low voice that she doesn't regret this decision. Yo Ryum exits the building and is soon spotted and recognized by someone present. Journalists rush toward her like a torrent, surrounding her with questions about the Sofia Volkova stabbing incident that happened 2 hours ago. Camera flashes blind her, and a reporter asks sharply if she has any comment on the incident. Another reporter holds up a recorder, pointing out the video has become the talk of the town in Korea, asking if she caused this chaos to attract attention, to revive her family name. Provocative questions continue about why she applied to the Blue Dragon Academy and what she intends to do there, while Yo Ryum looks extremely annoyed. Yu Ji-tae steps in to protect her, asking journalists to stop pressuring an injured child. But Yo Ryum interrupts him, saying she will answer since they want it so badly. Yo Ryum snatches the recorder from the shocked reporter's hand, repeating their question about what she will do there. Yo Ryum smiles a wide, terrifying smile at the cameras and tells them her desire. The scene suddenly shifts to a calm, beautiful atmosphere, where cherry blossoms fall in front of a luxurious residential building, their private dorm inside Lair. Gayul screams with overwhelming happiness, raising her hands in the air. The girls enter the massive living room, where Gayul expresses her amazement at the vast space, while Yo Ryum wonders if they will really live in this fancy place. Gayul takes off running toward the stairs, announcing the best room will be hers, so Yo Ryum chases her, screaming that the biggest room will be hers. Gayul opens a room door, and her eyes shine brightly with admiration. She finds a spacious bedroom with a huge bed and modern TV, bathed in warm sunlight from a large window. Gayul inspects her new room happily, thinking it isn't bad and she will make good use of it. Yo Ryum enters suddenly with a cigarette in her mouth, announcing that the balcony in this room is perfect for smoking, so this room is now hers. Gayul objects in shock, saying it's not fair because she chose it first, reminding her that Yo Ryum said she would take the large room and the one next door is bigger. Yo Ryum stares at her with a sharp look that makes Gale retreat and agree fearfully to take the big room next door. Later, Bomb appears, carefully spraying water on the large blue egg, rubbing the egg, saying, "Hello, my little one." Yu Ji-tae asks her in surprise why she is spraying water, and she answers with a gentle smile, explaining this is like prenatal education because blue dragons love water. Yu Ji-tae watches the scene, while Bomb explains her philosophy on caring for the egg. It is explained that when a dragon egg is close to hatching, the polymorph spell, which made it a necklace, naturally cancels, returning it to its original size. Bomb turns to Yu Ji-tae and tells him the dorm is buzzing with talk about Yo Ryum these days. Yu Ji-tae shows a video on his device of the interview Yo Ryum gave and her bold scolding of the reporters, pointing out conflicting comments below the video, where some praise her courage and beauty while others mock her. Suddenly, Yo Ryum's comment with the word sex appears prominently, so Bomb covers the egg's ears quickly, making sure it didn't hear that. The girls sit in the living room, while Yo Ryum speaks coldly lying on the sofa, wondering why there is such a fuss about the word, even though humans are born from it. And Gayul asks, "What is sex?" Yo Ryum looks at Gayul with a sly smile and asks if she wants to know the meaning. Yo Ryum says with a demonic smile that she needs to give the little chick some sex education. Gayul retreats very nervously, saying she doesn't think she needs to hear that, justifying that her mother told her not to know too much while living. Yo Ryum corners her with a demonic look, whispering that she has no right to refuse. Yo Ryum puts her hands on Gayul's head and starts scaring her, while Gayul screams in terror, trying to escape. Gayul finally surrenders, crying out that she will listen just so Yo Ryum stops. Gayul runs toward Yu Ji-tae, crying, asking him to save her from this embarrassing situation. The scene shifts to the next morning, where Yo Ryum is still sleeping deeply in her room. Gayul bursts into the room and wakes her with a scream, announcing an emergency. Yo Ryum gets up with extreme annoyance, cursing and swearing, complaining about being woken up this early, even though she stayed up all night. Gayul asks her anxiously if she stayed up watching something weird again, and Yo Ryum answers with a provoking smile that she watched pornos, which shocks Gayul. Gayul drags Yo Ryum behind her, forcing her downstairs quickly, saying this is no time for jokes, and Yo Ryum threatens death if it isn't important. Everyone goes downstairs, and Yo Ryum wonders with boredom what is happening for everyone to gather at dawn. She finds Bomb sitting next to the egg, telling them with tension and anticipation that Gayul is about to be born. Everyone's eyes turn to the egg, which has started cracking and emitting bright light, and Gale screams with excitement, announcing the birth of a new life. At that moment, Yu Ji-tae's face darkens as his memory goes back, remembering that the last birth of a life he witnessed wasn't a beautiful scene like this. He recalls a painful memory amidst destruction, where a woman holds his hand begging him, crying to save her child. Yu Ji-tae remembers bitterly how his companion told her then that it was too late, and their child stopped breathing and died as soon as he was born. Yu Ji-tae recalls painful memories from the past, where the environmental situation was catastrophic and the hospital was completely destroyed by war, making conditions unsuitable for saving lives. His face in the past appears full of sorrow, wishing there was a proper medical facility nearby, describing that memory as not pleasant at all. The scene returns to the present, where Yu Ji-tae stands with the three girls in front of the egg, wondering to himself why that depressing moment was recalled right now. Suddenly, Yo Reum notices something, while the eggshell breaks and a small blue claw comes out. The small head emerges from the egg, revealing a newborn blue dragon with wide, innocent eyes. Bomb blesses the newborn with a warm smile, while Gale's eyes shine with intense admiration watching the scene. The little dragon rubs her eye cutely, and her name appears, Gyul, winter. Bomb starts wiping her face and body with a towel. Yu Ji-tae asks Bomb if she learned that, and Bomb answers that her mother used to do that for her, although originally she used to lick her. Bomb offers Yu Ji-tae to hold the little one, but he refuses, quietly saying he is fine, so Gyul jumps in enthusiastically asking to hold her. Bomb hands her the little dragon carefully, warning her that her skin is still soft and she must be careful, so Gyul agrees happily. Gyul hugs Gyul very gently, closing her eyes and muttering that this feeling is very comforting and healing. Suddenly, Gyul's eye glints slyly, and she turns toward Yo Reum, sitting on the sofa, asking if she wants to hold her too. Before Yo Reum replies, Gyul pushes the dragon directly toward her face, causing Yo Reum to panic and scream at her madly, while Bomb asks Gyul to be nice. Gyul yawns cutely, while in the hands of Yo Reum, who finds herself forced to hold her, looking at her in silence. Gyul asks triumphantly if she understands now why she asked her to hold her, and Yo Reum admits with calm features that she is indeed cute. Then Yo Reum turns suddenly toward Yu Ji-tae, saying everyone held her, and asks why he doesn't hold her too, and Gyul supports her, saying Gyul will be sad. Yu Ji-tae remains silent, so Yo Reum smiles maliciously, provoking him, saying he's playing hard to get and acting noble and arrogant alone. Yo Reum threatens that she will throw Gyul, and he has to catch her himself, while Gyul screams in horror, asking if she's really thinking of throwing her. Yo Reum smiles a demonic smile, announcing she has had one goal since entering this house. Yo Reum screams that her goal is to see that stone face get flustered and tosses the little dragon into the air, while Gyul screams in terror. Yu Ji-tae catches Gyul with skill and complete calm, so Yo Reum grumbles with disappointment, saying it wasn't fun, while Gyul comments that her sister isn't normal. Bomb approaches Yu Ji-tae with a smile, suggesting he pet her since he is already holding her. Yu Ji-tae extends his finger hesitantly and touches Gyul's head gently, wondering if he is doing it right, while the dragon seems happy with his touch. Gale starts taking pictures with her phone, dazzled by the result, confirming moments like this must be documented. Bomb suggests taking a group photo to celebrate Gyul's birth, appearing holding a red rose, which surprises Gale. Bomb winks playfully, saying they are props for photography, while Yo Reum and Gale look at her in surprise. Bomb places the red rose behind Yu Ji-tae's ear and places a small blue flower on Gyul's head while he stands with completely frozen features. Yo Reum laughs, mocking his appearance, while Bomb says he looks good, and Yu Ji-tae asks them to stop and just take the picture. Yo Reum complains about the idea of photography, calling it embarrassing, but Gyul pulls her enthusiastically to join them. After taking the picture, Yu Ji-tae asks Bomb if it will be okay, pointing out the difficulty of going out of the house while Gyul is still in dragon form. Bomb explains to Yu Ji-tae that adult dragons like herself, Yo Reum, and Gyul learned polymorph magic to return to their human forms in the world they previously lived in, adding regretfully that little Gyul hasn't learned anything yet. Bomb lifts the little dragon with a tender smile, pointing out that dragons grow very fast, so she strongly desires to give this child happy experiences and beautiful memories before she gets too big, and that becomes difficult. Yu Ji-tae agrees to her wish immediately, offering his help if she needs it, but Bomb slyly reminds him that he previously claimed not to know magic very well. Yu Ji-tae falls silent for a moment, so Bomb tells him she has just one request. She asks him with a pleading look if he could stay by her side while she performs the magic transfer for the little one. Yu Ji-tae agrees curtly, but Bomb teases him, saying he looks heartless standing so far away. She invites him to come closer and not be shy, to which he replies seriously that he doesn't think there is a reason justifying getting that close. Bomb insists on her request, presenting a logical argument that she might get extremely exhausted during the transfer process and let Gyul slip from her hands, so he needs to be close to catch her. She adds in a dramatic tone while hugging the little one, describing the unbearable guilt she would feel if Gyul's head accidentally hit the table, while Yu Ji-tae looks at her with an expressionless gaze. Yu Ji-tae surrenders to her persistence and sits next to her, saying he has no choice. As soon as he sits down, Bomb whispers with sudden shyness and flushed cheeks, "It's hard." Yu Ji-tae looks at her in surprise, so she nervously clarifies the situation, explaining that she meant the sofa is a bit hard. He replies seriously that this is strange because it is made of high-quality materials. Bomb begins the magic transfer process as a green aura surrounds her and the little dragon. The scene shifts to several days later, where Bomb appears lying on the sofa in a state of extreme exhaustion, with steam rising from her, weakly announcing that it is finally over. Yu Ji-tae stands before her praising her effort while she returns the greeting weakly. Bomb gets up very slowly, heading to her room to rest a little, and reminds Yu Ji-tae of the necessity to feed Gyul and help her burp. Bomb asks him to wake her if any emergency occurs, and suddenly she trips due to exhaustion. Before she falls, Yu Ji-tae catches her quickly, supporting her exhausted body. He looks at her calmly and tells her he will carry her to her room. Bomb's cheeks turn bright red, and she feels flustered by his sudden proximity. Yu Ji-tae carries her in, his arms like a princess, so she admits to him shyly that she feels embarrassed being carried this way, and he comments that she still has the energy to joke. She laughs softly, asking him if she isn't heavy, and he answers briefly that she is light. Bomb comments with admiration on his ability to say such kind words. He places her in her bed and covers her, and she soon falls into a deep sleep, allowing him to leave the room quietly. As soon as he exits and closes the door, Yu Ji-tae feels strange ripples of blue mana emitting from the living room. He goes out to the living room to see a bright blue light enveloping the room. The halo of light fades to reveal a small girl with long blue hair sitting on the sofa, looking at her hands in amazement, while Yu Ji-tae watches her silently. Yu Ji-tae breaks his silence and welcomes her nervously. The scene shifts to the Lair District Police Station, where colleagues speak with admiration about Yu Ji-tae's recent achievements, noting that in just a few days, he managed to single-handedly catch criminals that the supernatural crime investigation team failed to catch for months. A colleague approaches Yu Ji-tae enthusiastically, offering him a fancy meal to celebrate his achievement, calling him the pride of the station. Another colleague interrupts, laughing, revealing that the colleague intends to pay using the company card anyway. So the colleague tries to salvage the situation by joking that he meant the second round. Yu Ji-tae refuses his colleague's invitation to eat, apologizing that he has work, which annoys the colleague, waving his gold card. The colleagues follow him into the street, wondering why he has been leaving on the dot lately, and their suspicions escalate about the existence of a secret girlfriend. He denies the matter with completely rigid and cold features. As he walks away, his colleague shouts behind him that he trusts him and that there is no girlfriend, demanding that he tell them honestly if he just doesn't like being with them, instead of making excuses. Yu Ji-tae walks on his way home after finishing work. Suddenly, he takes the form of a girl passing by him. It turns out that this entity working in Yu Ji-tae's place is the Archduke of the Shadow. This skill originally belonged to the Demon Duke, who used it to enforce dominion over distant territories. But it became Yu Ji-tae's subordinate, serving him as a new master after he killed the Duke. The shadow copy reaches the park, where its steps stop upon seeing Yu Ji-tae. It approaches him with extreme respect, addressing him as master, and confirms its presence based on his summons. The shadow copy notices something strange and asks in astonishment what he is holding. Yu Ji-tae answers calmly that it is Yu Gyul, explaining that she is on her way back from getting a haircut and that she is transformed into her human form. A passing lady expresses admiration, noting that the child is very quiet in her father's arms, and comments with a smile that the two look good together. The shadow copy offers help, saying it can carry the child if Yu Ji-tae feels uncomfortable. Suddenly, Gyul glares at the shadow copy with a sharp and extremely hostile look, which causes the copy shock and confusion. Yu Ji-tae refuses its offer and places Gyul gently on the ground, pointing out that she is capable of walking on her own anyway, while the shadow copy looks at the little girl standing on her feet. The shadow copy wonders in surprise why he brought Gyul himself, asking him why Bomb, Yo-reum, or Gyul aren't at home to take care of her. Yu Jitae explains to it that Bomb is currently bedridden and suffering from a fever due to the side effects of the magic transfer. As for the other two girls, Yu Jitae remembers the chaos they caused. Gyul was insisting enthusiastically on going shopping with her sister, while Yo Reum was smoking and refusing to talk to anyone, which made him decide they aren't ready to bear responsibility yet. The shadow copy understands the situation. Then, Yu Jitae asks it seriously about the matter it wanted to talk to him about. Yu Jitae confronts it with a sharp look, asking it not to feign ignorance, and reminding it that he knows exactly what is going on in its mind because all its emotions and memories transfer to him clearly. The shadow copy lowers its gaze nervously, explaining that it isn't dissatisfied, but has some doubts about the nature of its current duties. It explains to him that the entities it served previously never cared about ordinary daily life. It adds that they always used it for tasks of greater significance and brutality, such as killing targeted individuals, or sending it to distant places to enforce influence and control and subjugate followers by force. It expresses its confusion because its current master in this time cycle cares only about experiencing simple daily life, something difficult for an entity like itself, created for combat, to comprehend. The shadow copy apologizes immediately if its words seem disrespectful, but Yu Jitae reassures it calmly, acknowledging that it is a conscious being, and it is natural for such thoughts to cross its mind. Yu Jitae promises it that a mission will be assigned to it soon, but orders it to act normally in its job until that time comes. Before he leaves, he tells it that its team at work seemed disappointed by its refusal of their invitation, and orders it to go have a drink with them, hinting that it will part ways with them soon anyway. The shadow copy bows with obedience and respect, answering in the affirmative, and leaves to execute his order. Yu Jitae looks at the scene before him, seeing a mother and daughter smiling happily, while the child cheers that her mother is the best for getting what she wanted. He notices Gyul's fixed gaze toward the child and the doll, and realizes deep down that she might have wanted that badly, thinking that if he had known, he would have bought her one earlier. Gyul continues staring silently, making him feel her unspoken desire. Yu Jitae asks her directly if she wants a doll, and her eyes widen in surprise. He extends his hand into the air to open a dark dimensional slit. He pulls a blue teddy bear from the void and presents it to her, saying it is a little different from the one she saw. Gyul holds the bear, which is nearly her size, and her cheeks flush with shyness and happiness as she looks at it. Yu Jitae asks her if she likes the doll, but surprisingly, Gyul puts the bear on the ground and walks away from him with small steps, leaving Yu Jitae standing in bewilderment. Yu Jitae picks her up in his arms, thinking she might not be satisfied, and tells her he doesn't have any more left. Gyul reaches out her small hand, touches his cheek gently, and rests her head against his forehead. Yu Jitae is surprised by her sudden action, wondering to himself why this is happening. His memory goes back to Bomb, sick due to the magic transfer, wondering if Gyul thinks transferring magical energy is a form of affection. These thoughts overlap with his grim memories, where images of wars, fighting, and bloodshed appear from his past life. He recalls scenes of the dragons and monsters he fought, which contrast completely with the current moment. Yu Jitae returns to reality, and his gaze meets Gyul's innocent look, bringing a calm smile to his face. Gyul smiles too, and they continue walking together. Yu Jitae holds her small hand, and they walk peacefully under the sunset light, while Gyul drags her new doll behind her. Yu Jitae stops suddenly, exhaling as if sensing someone approaching. He wonders if they have already arrived, while Gyul looks on questioningly. Gyul appears suddenly, waving enthusiastically and calling out to him. Gyul runs toward them and hugs Gyul tightly. Yu Jitae asks her where she was, and she explains she took a quick trip to the shopping district, conveying to him that Gyul finds him kind. Gyul is surprised by her sister's hug, while Gyul whispers to her slyly that she must be happy to receive a gift from the master. Yu Jitae asks her in amazement if she can read Gyul's thoughts. So Gyul explains that dragons can transfer emotions and thoughts, not just mana, through skin contact, noting that forehead contact is the most effective method. Yu Jitae remembers the moment Gyul touched his face and realizes she was trying to express her feelings that way, admitting to himself that he didn't know that. Gyul laughs, joking that there are things even he doesn't know. Yu Jitae notices a large bag on Gyul's back and asks her about it. Gyul smiles and pulls out a new guitar, asking if this is what he meant. She announces enthusiastically that she bought it to be able to communicate her soul and feelings to others without the need for physical contact, adopting a playing pose and asking him if she looks like a singer. She starts playing and singing cheerfully in the middle of the street, assuring Yu Jitae that she will work very hard on this. Yu Jitae watches Gyul silently as she plays the guitar, recalling memories from his past life, medical tools and syringes lying on the floor next to a guitar, and Gayul, sitting exhausted, blood covering her hands and clothes, while empty bottles are scattered around her. Yu Ji-tae looks at her with a look containing a mix of concern and pity for her condition, realizing the magnitude of the suffering she lived through. He returns to reality, seeing her pressing the guitar strings with her injured fingers, admitting her pain, while smoke rises from her damaged fingertips. Yu Ji-tae notices her trembling hand, so he advises her calmly not to push herself too much and not to try with excessive effort. But Gayul is surprised by his advice and asks him why. He asks her to take things slowly while he leaves with Gayul, but she replies that she wants to do her best. Yu Ji-tae changes the subject, asking about Bomb and if she has woken up. Gayul tells him regretfully that Bomb is still sleeping, and her fever hasn't gone down yet, as they walk together and Gayul holds Yu Ji-tae's hand, explaining that this is inevitable because she overexerted herself using magic for consecutive days. He then asks her about Yo Reum, and Gayul tells him while putting her finger on her mouth in thought. She explains that Yo Reum hasn't left her room all day because she is completely addicted to watching dramas. Yu Ji-tae comments to himself that her obsession with something other than fighting is a good development, and better than her causing trouble outside. Yu Ji-tae asks Gayul to wash her hands as soon as they enter, so Gayul agrees and takes Gayul with her. Gayul wonders if Bomb has woken up, and suddenly Yu Ji-tae places his hand on Gayul's shoulder. His expression changes to complete seriousness, and he orders Gayul sternly to take Gayul and enter her room immediately, warning her not to come out until he gives her permission. Gayul is surprised by his sudden change in tone and asks him why, but he repeats his order with one sharp word, now. Gayul is terrified and agrees, stammering, pulling Gayul with her quickly to execute his order. Yu Ji-tae opens Bomb's room door slowly, and his eyes darken as he looks inside silently. He finds the room filled with armored knights surrounding the sleeping Bomb, their eyes glowing in the dark. One of the fully armored knights turns toward Yu Ji-tae, asking him threateningly if he is the one who did this to the Green Dragon. These intruders are identified as guardians, knights and slaves of dragons, forced to protect the nest. They are subjugated by subjugation magic cast on useful monsters or humans. Among them, a select few with exceptional abilities act as personal bodyguards for the young ones who go out for entertainment. Yu Ji-tae looks at the sleeping Bomb, suspecting the knight used sleep magic on her. The knight stomps the ground and rushes toward Yu Ji-tae, approaching him and demanding an answer about what he did to the Green. Yu Ji-tae scolds the knight, saying he should have introduced himself first when visiting someone else's home, while the knight points out that he failed to understand the situation and that asking questions is a privilege for the strong only. Terrifying dark energy known as Black Heart explodes from the knight, and he declares with a voice full of tyranny that he is the only one allowed to ask questions here, calling Yu Ji-tae a lowly human. Yu Ji-tae notices a high-level protection barrier surrounding the place. The knight gives Yu Ji-tae a final warning. The knight insists on knowing what happened to the Green, demanding Yu Ji-tae answer. Yu Ji-tae's features calm down a little, and he tells him the truth, that a blue dragon has been born. The knight looks at the sleeping Bomb, while Yu Ji-tae explains that her condition is due to exhausting herself while teaching the little one polymorph and magic transfer. The armored knight asks sharply about the identity of the man standing boldly before him. Yu Ji-tae answers calmly and with complete confidence that he is their guardian, which provokes the knight's mockery, calling this introduction laughable. The knight wonders sarcastically if this human really realizes the nature of the beings he claims to protect, to which Yu Ji-tae replies with a sharp look that he knows very well, and that is why he has a question he would like to ask them. Yu Ji-tae shocks the knights by asking why they arrived so early, pointing out that they were supposed to be dispersed through a dimensional rift very far away. The knights are struck with astonishment and shock, wondering how a mere human could know these minute details, while their leader realizes this man knows more than he should. The leader announces majestically that they are the guardians of children and keepers of causal history, admitting that Yu Ji-tae took care of the children on their behalf, but adds that no matter how he looks at it, Yu Ji-tae is far from being a good person. The knight tells him that leaving him alive might bring trouble later. Yu Ji-tae suggests coldly resolving the matter through conversation, but the leader refuses the offer immediately, attacking with his huge weapon from above and reassuring him he won't feel any pain, while the rest of the knights attack from behind in a treacherous attempt to end it. The attack causes a massive boom, and purple energy rises, while Yu Ji-tae stands firm. The leader is shocked to find his sword, named Horse Sword, blocked with complete ease by Yu Ji-tae, who is using the SS rank Formless Sword. With a lightning-fast movement, Yu Jitae counters and cuts off the knight's hand. The leader falls to the ground in pain. Another knight describes him as a pathetic fool for falling for such a trivial attack. The other knights scream that they will finish this human, while he watches from behind, and swords and spears converge on Yu Jitae from every direction. But suddenly the leader stammers in shock and terror, realizing that this human is far stronger than they expected. The knights are scattered in the air like broken dolls, their armor and weapons shattered before Yu Jitae's overwhelming power. Yu Jitae stands alone in the middle of the room, which has turned into a junkyard of broken armor and defeated knights, while the leader lying on the ground looks at him in terror. The leader admits to himself that he felt something strange from the beginning. The idea of an ordinary human caring for baby dragons and knowing of their existence was illogical. The leader realizes too late that he should have heeded his initial doubts, certain that the man standing before him is not an ordinary human. The leader describes Yu Jitae in his heart as an absolute and transcendent being, who should never be touched, while Yu Jitae looks at him with dark, terrifying eyes. Yu Jitae slowly approaches the trembling leader, reminding him that he suggested talking from the start. The leader asks him if this world is under his rule, but Yu Jitae cuts him off sharply, ordering him to answer his question only, asking the knight how he survived, pointing out that a problem must have occurred in the dimension. The leader yields and explains that the reason is a dimensional distortion. He explains that their master opened a dimension linking the nest to this world to transport them, but for some reason the dimension twisted and they were ejected randomly. Yu Jitae asks for a detailed explanation of this dimensional distortion, so the leader admits he doesn't know the exact details, but remembers what their master said in the past about the existence of something called the Horizon of Providence. He explains that the distortion is a problem resulting from the power generated from that horizon, as if dimensions twist around it. Yu Jitae feels something is incorrect, as there was no mention of such a dimensional distortion in his previous time regressions. He wonders in confusion what the Horizon of Providence is, confirming it is a concept he has never heard of throughout his long life. Yu Jitae realizes with concern that there are too many variables in this time regression, noting that it is also the first time a guardian of the Green Dragon, unlike the usual guardians, has come looking for him. Yu Jitae asks sharply about the connection of the Horizon of Providence to their arrival, and if the horizon helped them get here. The knight leader explains that a specific will residing beyond the horizon of Providence is exactly what helped them, causing Yu Jitae to wonder in astonishment what that will is. The knight describes feeling that will guiding his path, showing him the way through the dimensional vortex. He adds that he did nothing but follow that will to gather the guardians and find the whereabouts of the baby dragons. Yu Jitae feels suspicious and decides to verify the matter himself, reaching his hand toward the knight's helmet, muttering that he needs to confirm something. He orders him to look directly into his eyes while holding his helmet, activating the SS rank Eyes of Balance, one of the 3 great authorities he seized from the Archduke of the Demon World. These eyes distinguish between good and evil, truth and lies, clearly showing the result that the knight's words are the truth. Yu Jitae realizes the truth of his words, recalling in his mind how he eliminated every potential threat to the world to prevent problems like this. He feels intense frustration and anger, wondering to himself why unknown things keep appearing despite his countless inspections and examinations of the dimensions. He asks him about the entity behind the horizon, and the knight answers that the will seemed to carry a grudge and malice, describing his feeling toward it as resembling a curse. The knight suggests the reason might be that he carries the essence created from the Green Dragon's power. Suddenly, Yu Jitae delivers a powerful and surprise blow to the knight, making him groan in pain and fall violently. Yu Jitae notices a strange glow emitting from the knight's armor and realizes what it is. The authority of the vintage clock begins to operate to understand the distorted time flow as golden chains appear surrounding the knight. The authority searches for elements hostile to Yu Jitae and forms a ball of glowing chains, expressing its severe rejection of elements that have deviated from the world's original timeline. The system announces that the authority of the vintage clock will henceforth consider all elements coming from outside the timeline, or possessing separate timelines, as enemies to be scrutinized with extreme precision. Yu Jitae looks at the glowing hourglass in his hand, realizing that the authority which only moved when regressing time has started to intervene, but acknowledges he can do nothing currently. He decides he has no choice but to wait as the clock fades from his hand. The knights whisper curiously about the strange light that turned into a clock, wondering if the matter is resolved now. Yu Jitae turns to them holding his weapon, asking what they will do, explaining that he is already taking care of the dragons and there is nothing for them to do here. He points out that the subjugation magic binding them to the dragons via the dimensional distortion must have been cancelled, so there is no real reason for them to stay. The knights ask in astonishment if he will simply let them leave, and he answers coldly that he doesn't care as long as they don't cause trouble. The knights agree to leave one by one. Yuji-tai agrees to their departure, but the knight leader suddenly stands up swaying, announcing that he cannot go, which silences Yuji-tai. Yuji-tai asks him in surprise, and the leader answers that he is the person guarding the history of causality. Before he can finish his sentence, Yuji-tai lands a violent punch that knocks him to the ground and silences him. Yuji-tai places his foot over the fallen knight and asks him again threateningly if he will leave, but the knight insists, with difficulty and pain, that he cannot go. Yuji-tai steps heavily on the chest of the knight leader lying on the ground, while the knight screams in pain from the intense pressure. Yuji-tai asks him for the last time with cold features if he will leave. The knight answers with difficulty and determination, his eyes glowing under the helmet, that he cannot go. The knight gasps for breath under the weight of Yuji-tai's foot, confirming his total inability to leave and abandon the dragons. Yuji-tai turns to the rest of the knights standing in the back. Another knight tells him that their leader won't listen no matter what he says. Another knight describes him as slow-witted and a fool who can't seize freedom even when it's right in front of him, so they leave him to do as he pleases. Yuji-tai stays silent for a moment thinking about it, before letting out a short sigh and announcing his acceptance of the situation with a single word. Yuji-tai addresses the knight on the ground while summoning his weapon, noting that he needs at least this much stubbornness and toughness to be suitable as a guardian. Then he proceeds to eliminate the rest of the knights, causing the leader to wonder in shock if Yuji-tai was just testing them, but the latter denies it calmly. Yuji-tai notes that this knight seems unique and different from those he saw before, and asks him curiously about the reason driving him to want to stay by the Green Dragon so badly. The knight answers while kneeling respectfully that his loyalty to the Green Dragon clan has never changed. Yuji-tai acknowledges the strength of his loyalty, but reminds him that he is already protecting her. He confronts him with the fact that he is much weaker than him, asking what he can possibly do as a guardian in Yuji-tai's presence. Yuji-tai smiles slyly, telling him there is one role that suits him perfectly right now. The scene shifts to the hall where Yo-Reum, Gyaul, and Gyaul are gathered, and Yuji-tai asks the knight to greet them. Yuji-tai introduces him to everyone as the newly appointed janitor, while the knight stands stunned, wearing a pink kitchen apron over his full armor. The knight appears later washing dishes seriously while wearing pink rubber gloves, letting out a long sigh that expresses his frustrating new reality. He recalls confronting Yuji-tai sitting at his computer, asking indignantly what he meant by being a janitor and if this was a joke. He expresses his lack of understanding of the connection between protecting the dragon and doing cleaning chores, insisting it makes no sense to him. Yuji-tai reminds him coldly that he told him before that he is enough to protect the dragon alone, and that he created this position specifically for him to stay. Yuji-tai's expression shifts to a terrifying threat, warning him that he will annihilate him completely if he can't even master the job of a janitor, ordering him to do his work well. The knight returns to washing dishes miserably, wondering to himself how he ended up from a majestic knight commander to a dishwasher. Baum enters the kitchen in comfortable clothes and asks if he is the guardian from Ascalepa. The knight gets flustered and asks anxiously about her health, calling her the Green, then correcting himself. She reassures him with a bright smile that it's just a mild cold. He asks why she is in the kitchen, and she tells him she heard he would be working as a janitor here. Baum compliments his appearance, saying the apron suits him and looks good on him, causing him to freeze in shock and shyness. She asks him with a gentle and shy smile to take good care of them from now on as Mr. Janitor. The knight blushes behind his iron helmet, feeling deeply touched by her kind words, whether he is cleaning or washing dishes. The knight suddenly gets excited and crushes the plate in his hand from the intensity of his emotion and enthusiasm, swearing loudly to the young miss that he will ensure her hands never get wet with water and to leave everything to Armada. Baum looks at the shattered plate on the floor and tells him with regret and calm that the plate was very expensive. In another scene full of cuteness, Gyaul appears wearing various outfits. Sometimes in a blue bear suit, sometimes in a school uniform with a yellow bag, and other times in a gothic dress, while photos are taken of her in different poses. Gyaul is shown taking pictures with her phone, with intense enthusiasm and overwhelming happiness, expressing her admiration for how irresistibly cute Gyaul is. Gyaul asks her sister Baum curiously when she bought those beautiful clothes for Gyaul. Baum answers proudly that she ordered them as soon as she recovered, then turns to the little one asking for her opinion. Gyaul sways her body left and right with overwhelming happiness while hugging the blue teddy bear, as Gyaul notices that the little one really loves clothes, to the point she can't hide her shy smile. Gyaul turns to the janitor, the knight, asking him which outfit is the most beautiful in his opinion. He answers diplomatically and tactfully that Miss Gyaul looks beautiful in anything she wears, which impresses Gyaul, who praises his smooth talking. Yu Jitai watches this interaction silently, while Gael laughs, noting that this man is really good at socializing. Suddenly, Yu Jitai surprises Gael with a sharp observation, pointing out that she is still playing the guitar, which causes her intense tension and confusion. Gael tries to deny it, claiming she only plays lightly, but Bomb intervenes while combing Jules' hair, scolding Yu Jitai for his harshness, and explaining that Gael loves it. Yu Jitai denies being harsh, then changes the subject, asking about Yeo Reum, who hasn't appeared all day, guessing she is still watching dramas in her room. The Guardian intervenes awkwardly, explaining that he tried to clean Miss Yeo Reum's room earlier, but she kicked him out. He expresses deep concern because her complexion was extremely pale and she looked in bad shape, recalling the memory of her rudely kicking him out. Bomb comments with a nervous smile that the reason is likely staying up all night, while Yu Jitai falls silent with features showing annoyance. Yu Jitai decides to check himself, opening Yeo Reum's door to be hit by the smell of smoke and the sight of a room filled with cigarette butts and empty drink cans. Yeo Reum sits on the floor amidst the mess in loungewear, holding a drink can and looking exhausted and neglected. She turns to him indifferently while chewing a piece of dried squid, asking him coldly if he came to check if she was still alive. Yu Jitai notices the large TV screen in front of him and asks in amazement if she watches this series all the time. She answers yes, so he asks if she saw anything else, and she denies it. A shot of Knights appears on the screen, and Yeo Reum starts complaining loudly about the poor plot in Season 7 and the lack of historical accuracy in combat. Yu Jitai simply suggests she stop watching, to which she replies with biting sarcasm, calling him a genius. Yu Jitai orders her sternly to come out for a moment because he wants to talk to her, so she looks at him in surprise. Yu Jitai gathers everyone in the living room holding Gyul in his lap, announcing seriously that they will conduct a deep cleaning campaign now. The three girls and the Guardian behind them sit on the sofa, and Gael wonders in shock about the reason for this sudden decision to deep clean. Yu Jitai scolds them, saying, even if they aren't human, they must live like humans as long as they are on Earth, directing his words specifically to Yeo Reum and Gael because of their filthy rooms. Gael protests in panic, asking when he entered her room, arguing that her mother told her not to enter another person's nest without permission. Bomb replies with a sly smile, asking if her mother didn't also tell her to clean her room before living in it, making Gael stammer and scream that isn't the point now. Yu Jitai distributes tasks sternly, assigning the janitor to handle the living room and kitchen, while ordering each of them to clean her own room. Yeo Reum complains heavily, calling it madness, asking the point of cleaning when they have a janitor, while Gael next to her looks disgusted by her behavior. Suddenly, Yeo Reum wipes her dirty finger on Gael's face, saying she extracted this especially for her, causing Gael to scream in horror and disgust. Gael jumps up screaming she hates dirty things, so Yeo Reum points at her mockingly, saying she hates filth, yet is being scolded for her dirty room. Yeo Reum stands up bored and directs her words to Shorty, the Guardian, ordering him to clean her room because she is going to exercise, and the Guardian agrees with total obedience. Bomb tries to wiggle out too, saying she cleaned her room yesterday, so she will go buy dinner ingredients, leaving Gael crying alone on the sofa, justifying that the family has grown, and she must make an effort. Yu Jitai agrees to Bomb's suggestion calmly. But suddenly, Yu Jitai remembers the previous cooking disaster, fish stuck in purple rice, and his expression changes to shock and absolute horror just thinking that Bomb will cook dinner. Bomb asks Yu Jitai with a bright smile if there is something specific he wants to eat, so he answers briefly to choose whatever she likes, and she agrees happily. The scene shifts to Yeo Reum's room, which has turned into a dump, where the janitor stands holding a broom amidst a sea of empty cans and cigarette butts, shocked by the horror of the view. The Guardian swallows hard, telling himself that the demon world itself is more merciful than this mess, and finally realizes the reason behind Yeo Reum's bad skin and paleness. The Guardian bends down to examine a planter filled to the brim with cigarette butts instead of plants, wondering in amazement if that girl is undergoing some poison resistance training in her room. He decides to start cleaning, holding a trash bag to collect bottles and large cans first. Suddenly, Yu Jitai, the shadow copy, appears behind him in a police uniform, stopping him sharply, warning him this isn't the right way, pointing to a metal can in his hand. Yu Jitai proceeds to lecture the Guardian on the necessity of separating metal cans from plastic, criticizing him for not knowing basic cleaning rules. Yu Jitai wonders sarcastically if the concept of recycling doesn't exist in Ascalepa, describing it as a primitive place. While the Guardian stares at the can, thinking about something else entirely, noticing the demon world energy aura emitting from this person, realizing it isn't the real Yu Jitai, but his copy. Yu Jitai, the copy, notices the Guardian's distraction, glaring at him and asking sternly why he is spacing out and if he plans to stay up all night. The Guardian trembles and bows his head apologizing, realizing internally that the pressure and prestige of this copy could make anyone believe it is the original body. At that moment, Yu Jitae opens the door to see his copy scolding the Guardian, so the shadow gets a bit flustered welcoming its master. The copy justifies its stance, saying it was giving advice to the janitor who isn't doing his job properly, calling him an insulting term indicating incompetence and arrogance. Yu Jitae intervenes with calm features, asking his copy to stop lecturing and help clean, explaining he summoned it because cleaning Yo Rayum's room might be too hard for one person. The cleaning campaign and daily activities begin. Yo Rayum is shown exercising, bomb shopping, Gayul playing with Geul, while Yu Jitae, his copy, and the Guardian cooperate in cleaning the massive mess until sunset. After the hard work ends, the copy stands before Yu Jitae sitting behind his desk, announcing the mission completion, so Yu Jitae praises it. Yu Jitae displays a map on the computer screen, pointing to Moscow in Russia, telling his copy that this will be its next destination. He explains that a mage organization called Invisibility is conducting research there on transcendent-type mages, showing images of test tubes containing strange creatures and humans undergoing experiments. Yu Jitae orders his copy to finish police duties this week, then head immediately to Russia. Yu Jitae specifies the target precisely, which is locating the command type, Transcendent Mage known as Prototype X. The copy accepts the mission immediately, confirming it will start preparation right away. Suddenly the door opens and Bomb peeks in with a wide smile announcing her return. The Guardian welcomes Bomb, while Gale asks her in amazement why she bought such a huge amount of groceries. Bomb answers enthusiastically that the family has grown and more food must be cooked. The copy tries to seize the opportunity to leave as soon as Bomb returns, but the real Yu Jitae grabs its shoulder, ordering it to stop. Yu Jitae looks at his copy with a dark and very serious look, ordering it to switch clothes with him immediately. The scene shifts to the dinner table, where Bomb's voice rings out inviting everyone to eat, while the dishes appear terrifying. Purple soup emitting suspicious fumes, and whole fish stuck in it vertically. The girls taste the food. Gayul expresses fascination that the taste is exactly like what they ate in Ascalepa, while Yeo Rayum comments it isn't bad. Gayul wishes the janitor could eat with them, but Yeo Rayum mocks her, calling her stupid because he has no mouth due to the helmet. Yu Jitae, the copy, sits at the table wearing home clothes, sweat pouring from its forehead, staring at the disastrous dish before it, realizing bitterly that its master summoned and forced it to stay just to bear the burden of eating this terrible dinner instead of him. Outside, the real Yu Jitae stands in his formal suit in the dark garden, silent, and having saved himself from that experience. The scene finally shifts to an abandoned factory area near Lair, where panting breaths are heard amidst scattered corpses and blood filling the place. In the abandoned factory, the demon screams with blood covering his face, cursing Yu Jitae and warning him of the dire consequences of his actions. He threatens him madly, asking if this human really realizes who stands behind and supports him, while Yu Jitae holds him coldly. Yu Jitae cuts off the demon's hands, causing him to fall to the ground with immense force, answering with total calm that he knows everything about that supporter. Yu Jitae grabs the demon's hair roughly, revealing his knowledge of the supporter's identity. Wei Yan, the professor at the Blue Dragon dorms, or as he is known by his true title, Demon of the Invisibility Organization. Yu Jitae plants his blade in the demon's neck, wondering what exactly Wei Yan is planning. Yu Jitae activates the SS rank Eyes of Balance, warning the demon that lies won't work on him and ordering him to speak the truth. The demon is terrified and his features shift to extreme fear, admitting stammering that he doesn't know the exact details. But he reveals that Wei Yan promised him that if the plan succeeds within 3 months, he would also be chosen to obtain a seat. It is explained that the seat refers to the 4 chosen demons in the Invisibility Organization, the Elite. Whoever ascends to a seat gets their own legion and rises to the highest demon ranks, possessing disaster-class power. Yu Jitae thinks about it seriously, realizing this is very strange because Wei Yan never ascended to a seat in any previous time cycles, nor should he have acquired enough power at this timeline to organize a plan of this magnitude. Yu Jitae's vintage clock, EX authority, senses malice coming from beyond the horizon of providence. The authority begins searching for the entity that deviated from the law of causality in this world. The system clearly identifies the target as Demon Wei Yan. A warning message appears, stating the detection of interference from an entity outside the timeline, harboring hostility toward the time regression process. It turns out that Demon Wei Yan has deviated from the regression cycle, becoming a singularity, possessing the strongest traits and abilities from all his past life iterations combined. Yu Jitae realizes the danger of the situation. After the Guardians, now Wei Yan appears as a new variable, meaning this unknown enemy can interfere with everything related to him. The scene returns to the defeated demon trembling in fear, confirming this is all he knows, and begging Yu Jitai to keep him alive to bring him more information. The demon tries to gain sympathy by fabricating a story about his sick mother waiting for him at home, promising not to betray him. Without any hesitation, Yu Jitai knocks the demon's head off with a lightning strike, severing it from his body. Yu Jitai looks at the corpse coldly with glowing eyes, reminding him that he told him beforehand that lying is useless. He uses the Incineration S ability to burn the corpse, noting that even if he was telling the truth, his fate of death was inevitable and wouldn't change. Yu Jitai walks on campus amidst trees and fountains, analyzing the situation. If Wei Yan's plan is massive enough to grant him a seat, it must be large-scale and linked to Lair. He remembers Wei Yan's previous request to make Yeo Reum the student representative at the year-end banquet, connecting the dots, concluding that the bastard scheme is connected to this event. The scene shifts to a quiet park, where Yu Jitai watches from afar two students standing in front of Bom and Gyul, expressing intense admiration for the child's cuteness. One of them asks the child's name while she holds her teddy bear, so Bom answers with a smile that her name is Yu Gyul. The student praises the name, noting it suits her hair color perfectly, and asks curiously about her age. The two students suddenly notice Yu Jitai behind them with his majestic and scary aura, stopping their conversation in shock. Yu Jitai asks them with frozen features and a sharp look if they need something from the child, so the girls are terrified and deny it nervously before rushing away. Yu Jitai sits next to Bom on the bench. She asks him why he was gone all day, and he answers briefly while staring ahead that he had some business to finish. Bom asks Yu Jitai curiously what he was doing with Gyul, explaining that she was sick the whole time and couldn't spend time with the little one. She points to Gyul standing by the fountain, regretting that school starts tomorrow, so she guessed they wouldn't have time to play like this again. Bom turns to Yu Jitai with a warm smile, asking him if they don't look like a real family now. Bom playfully assigns roles, announcing that Gyul is the daughter, and she is the mother. She looks at him shyly and suggestively, implying that naturally makes him the father, while Yu Jitai looks at her in silence with an expressionless gaze. Bom bursts out laughing, covering her mouth, telling him she's just joking and asking why he's always so serious. He replies coldly that if she's going to spout nonsense, she should go back home. Bom smiles to herself, looking at Yu Jitai's back as he carries Gyul, muttering that playing was fun. The next morning, students are shown heading to the academy on a bright spring day. Gyul runs with intense enthusiasm with a piece of toast in her mouth, expressing her overwhelming happiness about finally going to school. Bom walks beside her, asking what lectures she chose, hoping their schedules overlap. Gyul lists her subjects like superhuman studies, literature, and magic. Bom stops her sister, asking in surprise why she has toast in her mouth even though she already ate breakfast. Gyul laughs shyly, explaining to Bom that she doesn't know story cliches, where her mother told her that if she runs to school with toast in her mouth and bumps into someone at a corner, that person becomes her destined partner, and a romantic image of a handsome dragon appears in her imagination. Suddenly, Gyul bumps into someone in front of her. Yo Reum appears with a sly smile, whispering that it's a coincidence to meet here, which startles Gyul. Yo Reum asks sarcastically if this means she is her destined partner, so Gyul screams in horror, reminding her she is a girl. Yo Reum replies boldly that she saw an American drama where girls do that too, then takes the piece of toast from the mouth of Gyul, who screams in heartbreak. Yo Reum changes the subject, asking about the whereabouts of the old man, Yu Jitai, since he said he would observe their classes but went to the faculty office first. Yo Reum guesses slyly that maybe he went to meet a woman since he didn't return home last night, causing Bom to freeze in shock. Bom gets extremely tense and sweats while trying to deny it, while Gyul asks worriedly if she is sick because she is sweating like a pig. Gyul suddenly notices camera flashes and a crowd of people. Yo Reum realizes they are journalists who came to take photos of the famous new students. As the trio stands together, students start whispering and recognizing Yo Reum, pointing her out as the student who crushed Sophia and made that bold statement. The journalists recognize the red-haired girl, and Yo Reum remembers the previous situation and curses in annoyance. The journalists rush toward her madly, demanding she look at them and give them a word. They surround her with questions and microphones, while Gyul wonders fearfully what is wrong with these people. Yo Reum's patience runs out completely, and she bares her fangs, screaming in a thunderous and terrifying voice to shut their damn mouths. Silence falls over the place, and Yo Reum scolds them sharply, calling them scum, asking if her answer last time wasn't enough, threatening to deal with them one by one. She raises her finger in their faces with a savage and provoking smile, daring them to step forward. The scene shifts to the house, where Gyul sits alone on the floor with her doll, looking with boredom and emptiness toward the door. The janitor peeks at her, realizing with regret that his task of caring for the child has become more annoying and difficult with everyone gone. The guardian remembers what Yu Jitai said before leaving, telling the guardian standing before him that the children went to school, and he wouldn't be at home either. He gives him clear and direct instructions, reminding him that he will be alone with Gyul at home today, so he must make sure to take good care of the little one. The guardian feels immense pressure, telling himself this task is much harder than cleaning, especially since he has never cared for a child before, while Gyul looks at him silently hugging her doll. The guardian tries to break the wall of silence nervously, addressing her as Miss Gyul. He suggests respectfully that she wait in a comfortable place until the other ladies and the homeowner return in the evening. Gyul stares at him for a moment without saying a word, then turns her face away coldly, ignoring his suggestion completely. Sweat pours profusely from the guardian's face under his iron helmet as he feels suffocated and short of breath from the intensity of the embarrassment and tension in this situation. He lets out a desperate sigh, deciding to escape this suffocating atmosphere and return to cleaning. The guardian returns again, attempting to change strategy, and asks her gently if she would like to read a picture book with him. Gyul's blue eyes suddenly shine with interest and happiness, and the guardian feels relieved that she showed interest in picture books at least. The guardian sits on the floor in front of her, offering to read the story to her. The guardian reads the book title, which is Dad is a Fairy, and a cute cartoon image of a father and daughter with wings appears. The narration begins with long ago deep in the forest, but the warrior guardian's imagination depicts the forest as the terrifying primeval forest full of monsters before the demon world era. He continues reading that Dol Suni and her father lived in that place. The guardian analyzes the story through his gloomy perspective, assuming the mother has died, and that a parent surviving in that harsh era is a miracle in itself, while the image in his imagination shows the father and daughter as terrifying muscular figures. He continues reading that the father told his daughter old stories every night before sleep. The guardian immediately concludes that old stories in that era must be about the Great War, imagining a bloody battlefield. Based on that, the guardian concludes with complete seriousness that the child Dol Suni must be a war maniac, while Gyul looks at him with a gaze full of doubt and suspicion. He continues reading, saying that one morning, Dol Suni woke up to find her father not at home. The guardian interprets this immediately that the father went to look for a new mother, invoking the culture of taking war prisoners as concubines in that era, and a brutal image appears of the father kidnapping a woman. The guardian adds with strange emotion that Dol Suni must be happy to get a new mother, while the kidnapped woman appears in his imagination screaming in terror. The guardian turns to Gyul to finish talking about Dol Suni, but is surprised that Gyul is glaring at him with anger and a dark aura surrounding her because he completely ruined the story for her. He asks her in confusion what is wrong, and if she didn't like the story, so Gyul points her little finger towards something. Gyul points clearly toward the corner of the room, while the guardian looks where she is pointing. Gyul ends up lying on the floor, happily looking at the story and humming, while the guardian sits in the corner curled up on himself, frustrated by his abject failure in storytelling. The scene shifts to outside the academy, where a luxurious black car stops and a driver steps out to open the door. A beautiful girl steps out, introduced as Gongju-hee, heir to the Gong clan, one of the 3 great swordsmanship families in Korea, but at this time she cares more about skincare than training. Ju-hee complains while applying makeup, expressing her hatred for sword training because sweating ruins her makeup. Ju-hee notices a large crowd of journalists and photographers gathered at the entrance, arrogantly thinking they are waiting for her, wondering in amazement if they came for her. Her secretary Kim tries to alert her nervously, explaining that he doesn't think they are here to take photos of her, so she turns to him sharply and in shock, asking what he said. Ju-hee wonders with anger and confusion about the identity of the person the journalists are waiting for instead of her, and pushes a photographer aside rudely to pass. She finds the answer in front of her, where Gyul and Yo Reum appear, having just arrived, and Ju-hee admits to herself their breathtaking beauty. But what surprises Gyul is the sight of Yo Reum sitting coldly on the back of a student crawling on all fours, like a human chair, asking her why. Yo Reum answers indifferently that the student is the one who wanted that. The student confirms while trembling and happy at the same time that he is a fan of hers and doesn't mind. So Yo Reum looks at him with contempt, describing his words as nonsense. Yo Reum imposes her control immediately on the press crowd, allowing each one only one question and quickly threatening to leave if they don't stick to the order. She points to a journalist wearing a hat who starts introducing himself enthusiastically as a representative of Taiwan Public Broadcasting. Yo Reum cuts him off sharply because his intro is too long and moves to the next, while the journalist stands stunned because he hasn't asked his question yet. A French journalist asks her how it feels to be the talk of the supernatural world recently, so she answers while picking her nose that the feeling is dirty and moves to the next. Another asks her about the fan club created for her, so she stomps her foot hard on the back of the human chair, describing them as a bunch of crazies. A chubby journalist wearing glasses steps forward, asking her about the meaning of the words she shouted at the Blue Dragon dorm interview site. Yo Ryum looks at him with disgust, saying he already knows the answer, and mocks the smell of his foot sweat wafting from him. The journalist insists slyly on a detailed explanation, wondering why she chose those obscene words specifically among all words. He approaches her with a slimy smile, hinting at the possibility of other intentions behind her actions. Yo Reum leans toward him with a bold and provoking smile, whispering a question if he wants to do it with her, which confuses the journalist. Her look changes suddenly to sharpness, reminding him he knows she's joking, and asks why he continues to troll and stall. The journalist bares his fangs, threatening her that journalism is a dirty profession, and that if she cooperates nicely, he can be nice too. Yo Reum grabs his shirt tightly, warning him that her patience has limits, while Gayul tries to calm the situation. The journalist notices the camera is recording, so he decides to provoke her more to get high views, smiling slyly. He whispers a clear threat that he will write the article his way if she continues this stubbornness. He threatens to publish a headline claiming she requested a sexual relationship with him, challenging her to say whatever she wants. Yo Reum's anger explodes, and she screams that she will kill him with her bare hands, throwing a powerful punch at him while Gayul screams in panic. Suddenly, a strong hand extends to block Yo Reum's punch before it reaches the journalist's face. Yu Ji-tae appears just in time, so Gayul cheers in relief at her uncle's arrival, while he comments with annoyance on them causing trouble as soon as he arrived. Yo Reum screams with mad anger, trying to explain that the journalist is the one at fault. Yu Ji-tae suddenly carries her on his shoulder like a sack, which stuns her. She hits his back with her fists, demanding to be put down, while he announces coldly that the interview is over. Yu Ji-tae turns toward the terrified journalist, issuing a terrifying warning with dark eyes, advising him not to turn this incident into an article. Yu Ji-tae releases a terrifying aura of pressure that crushes the journalist and those around him, while he leaves the place carrying Yo Reum. The camera glass shatters from the intensity of the pressure, and the journalist falls to the ground having wet his pants in terror, while Yo Reum looks down in shock at Yu Ji-tae's power. Yu Ji-tae and the girls move away from the crowd, and he hurries Gayul to catch the first class. Ju-hee wonders in amazement and shock if her companion saw what just happened, and her companion suggests nervously that they search for the family that girl belongs to. Ju-hee comments rudely on the blonde girl Gayul's body and wonders seriously where the girl got those clothes, admitting to herself her striking beauty. The scene shifts to the lecture hall, where Professor Kai stands with dignity, introducing himself to the students as the professor of swordsmanship. He explains that today's lesson will cover the history of swordsmanship and the correct attitude toward the sword, but Yo Reum, sitting next to Yu Ji-tae, complains with extreme boredom, describing talk about attitude as nonsense and demanding they be taught fighting immediately. Yu Ji-tae expresses his surprise that she stayed and didn't leave angrily as he expected, so Yo Reum answers indifferently that she is used to watching boring dramas to the end before. She reveals her real motivation for staying and working hard, which is her desire to crush that armored guy, Javier, with her hands someday. She asks Yu Ji-tae why he attended this specific class with her instead of following other students, to which he replies that she knows the answer better than anyone. Yo Reum leans on her hand in boredom, claiming false innocence that she has been keeping her cool and staying out of trouble lately. Yu Ji-tae reminds her of her attempt to hit the journalist just moments ago, so she argues with annoyance that that pig is the one who got on her nerves and provoked her. Yo Reum leans her body and rests on Yu Ji-tae's shoulder, so he asks her to move away coldly, saying it's hot. Yo Reum smiles slyly, wondering sarcastically why he refuses, pointing out that men usually go crazy for this kind of physical contact, and asks him if he is shy. Yu Ji-tae maintains complete silence and pays her no attention, so Yo Reum pouts childishly at his coldness. Yo Reum complains while putting her head on the table, saying studying isn't fun, so Yu Ji-tae tells her studying isn't supposed to be fun, but explains he isn't talking about studying but about her. Yo Reum thinks that even a kidnapper should be somewhat interesting. Yo Reum admits that Yu Ji-tae didn't seem normal at first either, so she expected days full of excitement and exploding dopamine to await her. She assures him she didn't agree to play family in this boring way, while Yu Ji-tae replies that the events that happened on the way to school were stimulating enough. Her eyes ignite with savage enthusiasm, announcing her desire for fighting, killing, and the euphoria of victory, not these trivial matters. Professor Kai notices Yo Reum's enthusiasm and thirst for battle, smiling slyly. The professor's eye shines with a strange green light, muttering that he has a good cure for that condition. Professor Kai orders sternly that Yo Reum and her guardian stay after class ends, so she looks at him with resentment and tension. The scene shifts to the sports equipment warehouse, where Yo Reum sits cleaning wooden swords with anger and extreme frustration. Yo Reum throws the tools on the ground and screams that her anger grows whenever she thinks about it, wondering why she has to do cleaning, preferring being beaten over this. So, Yu Ji-tae orders her to stop complaining and just wipe. Yo Reum suggests smartly summoning the janitor, guardian, from home to do the task, noting that he loves cleaning and wiping things. Yu Ji-tae asks her seriously who would take care of Gyul in that case, so she looks away in annoyance, saying that blue is useless. Yo Reum changes the subject curiously, asking Yu Ji-tae if he studied well when he was young, so he answers while cleaning that he didn't have time to study properly. Yo Reum laughs mockingly, describing him as having an empty head too, considering saying no time is just an excuse. Yu Ji-tae answers calm and seriously that he was busy staying alive because that time was a time of war. Yo Reum stops laughing and looks at him seriously, wondering if he is messing with her again, and asking what she is if what he says is true. She turns to him with a deep look with a cigarette in her mouth, asking him a direct question, if he finds life fun. Yu Ji-tae answers Yo Reum's question with frozen features and eyes devoid of life, admitting that life isn't exactly fun as she thinks. Yo Reum is surprised by his answer, wondering about the point of living such a boring life, and approaches him boldly, asserting that if she possessed his mighty power, she would never live in such boredom, mocking if he suffers from burnout due to excessive power. Yu Ji-tae looks down with a look carrying the weight of years, answering quietly and deeply that the reason is simply that life goes on, and he cannot give up on it. Yo Reum mocks his philosophical answer, describing it as depressed teenager nonsense, so he orders her coldly to stop chattering and finish cleaning. The scene shifts to show Yo Reum playing with a Rubik's Cube with boredom while the janitor, guardian, cleans around her seriously, and Bomb and Gyul appear playing with blocks in the background. The guardian watches Yo Reum silently as she tries to solve the puzzle, which makes her tense and lose focus. Yo Reum explodes in anger at the guardian, shouting at him to stop hovering around her because he distracts her, so the guardian apologizes, stammering in fear. Yo Reum moves to lie on the sofa with extreme boredom, while the guardian watches her with pity. Bomb, sitting next to her, asks if she is in a bad mood because of the journalists in the morning. Yo Reum denies that, explaining it's about the lack of fun, and that she feels bored because she hasn't had a real fight in a while. Yo Reum suddenly calls Bomb Unni, big sister, which causes Bomb a severe shock that makes her freeze in place. Bomb jumps up startled, asking Yo Reum if she is sick or needs to go to the hospital because of calling her that cute title. Then Yo Reum decides to just call her Yu. Yo Reum sits seriously in front of Bomb, asking her a deep question about the reason she lives for. Bomb is surprised by the question, while Bomb whispers to Gyul that Yo Reum finally grew up and hit puberty. So Yo Reum screams in her face that she hears her and knows Gyul is nodding in agreement. Yo Reum tells Bomb that she asked that human Yu Ji-tae today about the fun he finds in life. She conveys his answer with serious features, which is that life goes on and cannot be given up. So Bomb notices she speaks exactly like the master. Yo Reum concludes that that human feels no joy, expressing her philosophy that people live to feel joy, and there is no need for life if that feeling is absent. She gives examples like Gyul, the yellow monkey as she calls her, who feels overwhelming happiness just eating delicious food. And she points to Gyul, who feels happy playing with a tattered teddy bear. Bomb guesses with deep thought that Yu Ji-tae might have just not told them what he likes. But Yo Reum interrupts her, pointing out that she resembles him exactly. Yo Reum confronts her with the fact that she is of the same type, mysterious and unreadable, just like him. She adds with a sarcastic laugh that both are extremely boring. Yo Reum challenges Bomb, asking if she has anything fun in her life. Bomb smiles with shining eyes, admitting there is indeed one thing. Bomb drops a surprise saying she finds Yu Jitae surprisingly shy, which makes Yo Reum look at her in astonishment and disbelief. Yo Reum mocks this talk, calling it nonsense, confirming he is just a cold-blooded psychopath just by looking at him. And Bomb agrees with her initially, saying she thought so too at first. But she corrects herself with a soft smile, confirming he possesses a surprisingly cute side. Yo Reum is terrified by Bomb's smile, which she described as scary. Yo Reum attacks Bomb and starts tickling her playfully, while Bomb laughs trying to escape, and Gyul watches the scene with her doll. Suddenly, Gyul bursts up the stairs running, calling Unni with intense enthusiasm. Gyul announces with shock and happiness that the Lair community is buzzing with talk about Yo Reum, and a fan cafe has been created for her. So Yo Reum wonders with disapproval why a fan cafe was created for her. Gyul stammers very nervously, trying to hide her confusion, while Yo Reum screams in her face, asking what she is imagining in her head. Yu Jitae appears buttoning his shirt, and suddenly the door opens and Bomb peeks in, calling him. She tells him hesitantly she has a request, while he finishes dressing. He apologizes to her for not hearing her knock, and allows her to enter after he dressed. Bomb enters in her uniform and asks him shyly if he can accompany her today. Yu Jitae is surprised by the sudden request, so she points out he always goes out with Yo Reum and Gyul. Bomb pouts cutely, scolding him that he hasn't gone out with her even once, so he tries to justify that. Yu Jitae remembers the chaos caused by Yo Reum's love for violence and Gyul's constant requests for food, so he feels exhausted and refuses Bomb's request. Yo Reum enters accompanied by Gyul. Gyul asks Bomb why she isn't going to school, so Yo Reum asks her to finish her food first. Bomb announces clearly that she is asking the master out on a date. Gyul is stunned, while Yo Reum guesses realistically she means accompanying her as a guardian. Gyul thinks a little, then asks him seriously why he doesn't go out with Bomb, accusing him of favoring Yo Reum and her. Yu Jitae denies that, looking at Bomb. Gyul laughs, eating toast, saying favoritism is bad, but she understands. Gyul talks about her mother, who met hundreds of men but preferred few of them, while Yo Reum expresses admiration for Gyul's mother. Bomb thinks about the men left behind and wonders if that makes her like them, while Yu Jitae asks what she means by her words. Bomb scolds him, saying he kidnapped her, then neglected her, likening it to not caring for a fish after catching it. Bomb looks sad and lonely, so Gyul pities her and blames Yu Jitae, while Bomb confirms she is the only one left behind. Yo Reum intervenes, saying she understands why he accompanies them, fearing trouble, but asks him to go with Bomb this time, promising not to cause trouble, reminding him he can't watch them forever. Yu Jitae thinks a little, then finally agrees. Bomb hugs Gyul with overwhelming happiness and winks at him playfully. The scene shifts to a wide hall in the academy where students sit. Staff whisper about Yu Bomb's beauty and her getting a perfect score in the interview. They wonder about her family, and one mocks the Yu family name, considering it a low-status name, while Yu Jitae sits behind them, hearing their conversation. The teacher announces the end of the etiquette lesson and the start of social dance training. The students feel embarrassed, so the teacher asks them why they are shy. She explains to them that as representatives of their families, they will have to dance at high-class events. She adds, laughing, that the real embarrassment would be not knowing how to act then. The teacher asks students to form pairs. Students start choosing partners shyly, and the teacher encourages them to gather their courage. Students wonder in amazement why Yu Bomb hasn't found a partner despite expecting boys to line up for her, while she stands alone. Students whisper among themselves about the difficulty of approaching Bomb, describing her as surrounded by an aura, making touching her seem forbidden. The supervising professor notices that student Yu Bomb is the only one who didn't find a dance partner, so she admits with a nervous smile that she isn't popular among students. The professor offers gently to partner with her herself, given her beauty. But Bomb surprises her by asking if her guardian can be her partner, while Yu Jitae sits with frozen features in the back among parents. The professor agrees, stammering, so Bomb runs very fast toward Yu Jitae, surprising the professor with her super speed. Yu Jitae stands from his seat, while Bomb extends her hand toward him, rushing him to go quickly. Yu Jitae admits with slightly annoyed features that he isn't good at dancing. Bomb looks at him with teary and pleading eyes, asking if he will leave her completely alone in this situation. So Yu Jitae lets out a sigh of surrender. The lesson begins, and the professor directs students to hold their partner's hands and move slowly with the count. Yu Jitae stands directly in front of Bomb, so she looks away shyly while he trembles slightly. Bomb notices his confusion and asks him slyly if he is embarrassed to touch her, but he denies it coldly. Bomb holds Yu Jitae's hand tightly, which surprises him. Bomb explains to him that holding hands doesn't necessarily mean immediate emotional connection, so he tells her he understood. Her features change to seriousness and a cute threat, warning him against thinking of not dancing properly because that might affect her grades. They start dancing, moving in harmony in the middle of the dance hall. Bomb thinks to herself that his hands are sweating profusely. She notices he is indeed tense, and the sweating isn't limited to his hands, but includes his back and chest too, wondering about the reason for this tension. At that moment, Bomb imagines Yu Jitae's muscular body under his shirt, so her face turns bright red from shyness. Bomb trips suddenly and loses balance, so Yu Jitae rushes to catch her before she falls. Their gazes meet very closely, and suddenly Bomb's nose starts bleeding, while Yu Jitae points out calmly that her nose is bleeding. The scene shifts to outside the hall, where Bomb sits drinking juice with a tissue in her nose. He asks her worriedly if she is sure she doesn't need to go to the hospital, so she answers in surprise what hospital he means, confirming she is fine now. Yu Jitae thinks it's strange, as she didn't hit anything to bleed, while Bomb avoids looking at him and claims nervously she doesn't know the reason. Bomb changes the subject with a smile, noting the most important thing is he danced better than she expected. She asks him curiously with a sharp look if he learned dancing somewhere before. Yu Jitae goes back in memory, appearing in a night scene dancing skillfully with another woman, who praises him saying he isn't clumsy as she thought, and he promises to improve. Yu Jitae returns to reality, turning his back to Bomb, answering her with a lie that he never learned dancing. Bomb looks at him suspiciously sipping her juice, then asks if he has plans after school, and he denies it. Bomb ties her hair enthusiastically, inviting him to go with her to do something fun. The scene suddenly shifts to Moscow in Russia, where an old building appears under the moonlight, identified as a research facility belonging to the demon organization Invisibility. Red alarms blare throughout the facility, while researchers run in extreme panic amidst scattered blood, and one curses the catastrophic situation. A female researcher with demonic features flees running, wondering in terror about the source of that monster that appeared suddenly. She reaches a locked door, realizing the current power isn't enough to stop the intruder, and tries desperately to contact headquarters. Suddenly, Yu Jitae's shadow in black clothes appears directly behind her, asking her coldly where she is going in such a hurry. The researcher trembles, trapped, stammering what this intruder wants from her. Yu Jitae asks her with eyes glowing blue if his master is looking for something, specifically the whereabouts of Prototype X, the command-type transcendent demon. The researcher refuses to answer, screaming she prefers death over revealing the secret, so the shadow grabs her by the neck. Yu Jitae's shadow notes, while shadows surround him, that the true nature of demons always shows when death approaches. He focuses his gaze on the researcher's eye, describing how the human appearance protrudes and moves like a puppet with cut strings when pain becomes unbearable. Yu Jitae's shadow grabs the researcher's neck, offering her with terrifying sarcasm to dance alone under the moonlight. Yu Jitae's shadow stands coldly over the corpse, with blood dripping from his hand after finishing the deed. The shadow communicates telepathically with his original body, informing him that Prototype X has already been converted to a display model and moved to the Invisibility Organization headquarters. Yu Jitae's shadow points out that Prototype X this time takes the form of a female bound inside a water tank, unlike previous time regressions. Yu Jitae confirms from the shadow that the researcher who was eliminated is named Vera. Yu Jitae orders his copy to disguise as that woman Vera and infiltrate the Invisibility headquarters to find out X's true identity. The copy declares loyalty and begins executing the mission, while the scene shifts to a clothing store where Yu Jitae waits sitting. Yu Jitae thinks about the danger of Prototype X, a demon possessing a special ability to merge the minds of countless demons in one place. Images of demons and destruction appear. As the longer it stays, the more dangerous and brutal it becomes. Yu Jitae remembers he always prioritized killing Prototype X in every previous time regression, but information differed this time, making the search difficult. He activates the Vintage Clock Authority to read the malice coming from beyond the horizon of Providence, searching for the existence that deviated from the world's timeline. He focuses his sight, realizing that X's identity change is also the work of that malice the Guardian mentioned. He clenches his fist tightly, deciding internally that nothing changes, and that he will simply kill everything that disturbs the peace of his daily life. Bomb interrupts him, calling him from behind the curtain. She rushes him to look, so he turns to her with questioning features. Bomb comes out wearing a bold black swimsuit, standing with a transparent cover, asking him with a smile if it suits her. Yu Jitae looks away, asking what she is doing, so she answers with a cheerful laugh that summer is approaching and she thought of buying one. She invites him to come inside the curtain to see more clearly because he can't see well from his place. Yu Ji-tae reminds her about the fun thing she suggested earlier, and if this is the silly prank she meant. Bomb pouts cutely, saying it is fun for her. Yu Ji-tae asks if she is thinking strange thoughts, warning her seriously against provoking his anger. They leave the store and walk together, where Bomb continues teasing him, claiming he honestly wanted to see her, while he denies it completely amidst her playful persistence. Bomb asks Yu Ji-tae, cheerfully humming, if she should just buy that outfit. Yu Ji-tae tells her if she finished playing, they should return home. Bomb explains to him seriously that they originally came here to buy gifts for the children, so Yu Ji-tae wonders in surprise about the gifts. Bomb explains that Gyul's teddy bear has become completely tattered, so she plans to buy a new one for her, in addition to gifts for the rest of the children too. Yu Ji-tae asks Bomb what she will buy for the others, so she tells him Gyul knows nothing but buying clothes and cares about nothing else. So she will buy her a good wallet so she doesn't feel lacking when going out with friends later. And when he asks her about Yo Reum, Bomb explains she asked her yesterday, and she said there is something she wanted she saw in a movie. And Bomb comments that her request is a bit strange. Bomb suggests she goes to look for Gyul and Yo Reum's gifts, while he goes to choose Gyul's gift, so Yu Ji-tae agrees immediately. Yu Ji-tae leaves the place, while Bomb looks at his back worriedly and mutters, wondering if it will be okay leaving him to choose alone. The scene shifts to a toy store called Toy and Toy, where the female employee sits bored behind the counter. Yu Ji-tae enters the store holding a teddy bear, so the employee starts analyzing him, seeing his age as late 20s or early 30s, and based on his height and body he might be a model or soldier, and his face is handsome too. The employee notices he is unaccompanied by a woman, and his looks suggest he understands nothing about children's toys. Her eyes shine and her features turn sly, having discovered a naive person easy to exploit, believing this type opens his wallet easily, so she welcomes him enthusiastically, asking about the child's age. Yu Ji-tae answers her holding the bear that she is about 4 years old. The employee claps her hands, saying it's the age when they are cutest, asking if she is his daughter, but he denies, explaining she is just a child he knows. The employee deduces he is the child's uncle, praising him, saying it's rare for an uncle to choose a gift himself, confirming the child will love it. But she mocks him, considering he lacks sense in choosing, while Yu Ji-tae looks at her questioning. The employee begins her marketing plan, suggesting role-playing toys instead of dolls, showing him a toy stethoscope, noting that playing with the child this way builds a strong bond. She offers him the hospital game set and tempts him with a 10% discount if he buys it with other sets. Yu Ji-tae imagines Gyul in a little nurse outfit, so he agrees immediately, making the employee feel victorious. Yu Ji-tae appears carrying a huge pile of boxes and gifts, while the employee assures him the amount might seem large, but is necessary for the child's emotional growth, promising he won't regret it. She asks him at checkout if he will pay by card, and he answers yes. The employee is stunned when she sees the black card issued only for ultra-wealthy families, VIP, realizing why he bought everything she recommended without hesitation. Her view of him changes completely. The more she looks at him, the more attractive and charming he seems, wondering if he is married and thinking of seducing him. She asks him shyly and nervously if he has a girlfriend. Suddenly, Bomb appears, grabbing his arm, calling him Appa, and asks in shock if he bought all this, so the employee is disappointed, thinking she is his girlfriend. Bomb wonders why he bought random things even though they agreed to buy a doll for Gyul, so Yu Ji-tae simply answers, doll. The employee realizes from context she must be his younger sister. The employee tries to salvage the situation, saying the child might not be used to toys at first, but Bomb interrupts her. Bomb's face darkens, and a scary aura appears around her as she interrupts the employee strictly, saying she told her Gyul doesn't like this kind of toy. Bomb picks up a simple teddy bear, saying she thinks this will be good. Bomb explains this doll resembles the one Gyul originally owned, so it won't be confusing for her. So Yu Ji-tae admits he intended to buy that doll originally. Bomb asks the employee with a bright smile if she will get a VIP discount for this bear. The scene shifts to the house at night, where the screams of Gyul, Yo-reum, and Gyul rise with intense excitement upon seeing the gifts. The new brown bear appears next to luxury gift bags on the floor. Gyul dances with overwhelming happiness, holding her new wallet, expressing her deep love for Bomb and Yu Ji-tae because she was hesitant to buy it, while Yo-reum stands holding her gift bag, and Gyul looks at her new bear with shining eyes. Gyul asks curiously what Yo-reum got, since Gyul got a doll, so Yo-reum wonders about her gift too. It turns out Yo-reum's gift is adult toys, as she requested, appearing holding handcuffs and a whip with a terrifying demonic smile. Yo-reum calls Gayul monkey, asking her to come closer to try something, while Gayul retreats in extreme terror, refusing. It ends with Gayul screaming and begging while Yo-reum tries to cuff her hands. Meanwhile, Yu Ji-tae sits holding little Gayul in his lap, enjoying the quiet moment while she hugs her new doll happily. Bomb approaches him with a small box in hand, asking him to take it too. Yu Ji-tae opens the box to find a navy blue tie inside. Bomb explains she bought it because she noticed he always wears the same tie during classes. Bomb promises with a gentle smile to gift him a full suit when she earns money herself later, so he thanks her quietly. Yu Ji-tae asks her if she bought something for herself as he advised, and she answers that she did buy something indeed. When he asks her what she bought, Bomb smiles a mysterious and bright smile, telling him she will show him later. The scene shifts in time to several weeks later, where the janitor opens the room door. The guardian finds Yu Ji-tae dressed and preparing to go out. Yu Ji-tae tells him sternly he will be away from home for about 3 days, entrusting him with the task of taking good care of Gyul in his absence. The guardian asks if he is going somewhere far, and Yu Ji-tae confirms that, adding that Yo-reum will accompany him on this trip, while Yo-reum appears waking up lazily on the bed. The scene shifts to a wide square bustling with students, where the start of the event is finally announced. The event is introduced as combat simulation against demons, while students walk in groups amidst a technologically advanced atmosphere. A huge purple gate appears, and it is explained that this event is survival combat training held inside a virtual dungeon for 2 nights and 3 days among martial arts students. The rules state that students move in groups of 3, and the guardian representing them issues commands. It is explained that this role is called operating, a position existing in real superhuman groups during monster raids. Yu Ji-tae appears wearing a headset and adjusting it, as he will play the role of operator in this simulation. Yo-reum mocks the nervousness of other students, wondering if these chicks have ever experienced real combat before. Yu Ji-tae warns her seriously that there will be no time to relax, but she replies indifferently. Yu Ji-tae tells her the mission isn't a solo raid and she must find a team, but she insists on the necessity of finding someone she likes to join the team. A male and female student approach Yo-reum nervously and shyly, and the boy asks politely if she would like to join them if she hasn't found a team yet. Yo-reum explodes in anger in their faces, calling them losers and ordering them to get lost. But Yu Ji-tae intervenes, asking for their names. The student identifies himself as Hisaki Sojiro, and the female student identifies herself as Kim Ji-in. The 2 students bow with extreme respect, promising to work hard and not be a burden, while Yo-reum screams at them again, calling them weak and repeating her order for them to leave. But Yu Ji-tae issues his order via the headset with one word, understood, announcing his acceptance of them. So Yo-reum screams in shock and anger, telling him she didn't say she would receive them. Yu Ji-tae tells Yo-reum with cold features that if she has any complaints, she should find another team. Yo-reum reluctantly agrees, describing the whole situation as annoying, while students Hisaki and Ji-in stand before her very nervously. Yo-reum warns them with a clear, threatening tone that if they stand in her way during the fight, they will be as good as dead. Instead of getting angry, the boy Hisaki thanks her, stammering, but suddenly receives a powerful blow from behind, making him scream in pain and hold his head. A student with a delinquent appearance and blonde hair appears, calling Hisaki a loser, reminding him of his previous threat to kill him if he wandered in front of him. Hisaki apologizes to the aggressor student, trembling in fear. Kim Ji-in watches the scene coldly, so the aggressor student asks her why she is silent while her boyfriend apologizes on her behalf. The delinquent extends his hand rudely and grabs Ji-in's hair tightly, while she looks at him with a silent, defiant look. The delinquent's companion tries to calm him down, warning him that other children's guardians are present, but the delinquent Johnny replies mockingly that adults don't care about singles. Johnny continues harassing the girl, asking her to lift her bangs because she looks gloomy, while she tries to resist him weakly. Yo-reum intervenes suddenly with a sharp look, inquiring about the meaning of the word singles he uttered, which surprises Johnny at her boldness. Johnny immediately realizes the identity of the girl before him, identifying her internally as the crazy bitch of the Blue Dragon dorms. Yo-reum. Yo-reum repeats her question with a sharper and more insistent tone, demanding to know the meaning of the term singles. Sweat pours from Johnny's face as he remembers his family elder's strict warnings not to get involved with Yo-reum of the Yu family and to avoid her dangerous specialization. Johnny tries to salvage the situation with a nervous laugh, explaining to her that singles is a term used for students who don't have guardians. He adds with a tone of contempt as they walk away that they are basically poor scum with no support or background to protect them. Yo Reum realizes the reason behind her team's weakness, muttering with anger and extreme frustration because she was forced to form a team with those she considers beggars. Johnny puts his hand on Yo Reum's shoulder rudely, mocking the presence of someone strong like her on the same team with these weaklings. Johnny offers Yo Reum to join their team instead, confirming they will clear a spot for her, which angers his companions. But Johnny soon changes his mind, thinking slyly that no matter her craziness, her strength makes her a reliable ally. Johnny notices Yo Reum's silence, mistakenly thinking she is considering the offer, and resembles him in character, deciding to win her over. Suddenly, and without warning, Yo Reum delivers a devastating direct punch to Johnny's face. Everyone, including Johnny's companions and Yo Reum's teammates, is struck with astonishment and shock at her violent and sudden action. Yo Reum wipes her shoulder, looking coldly at Johnny, holding his face in pain, asking him threateningly if he wants to die. She scolds him sharply with eyes glowing with anger, wondering who allowed him to put his dirty hand on her shoulder and if he thinks they are close. Johnny flies into a rage and screams in her face, cursing, accusing her of acting arrogantly as if she is of higher status than him. Yo Reum interrupts him with a terrifying scream, threatening him that he will be dead if she sees him again, while he walks away making threats. Her terrified teammates watch her looking at Johnny with demonic features, while Yu Ji-tae watches the scene calmly from afar. The announcement voice cuts through the charged atmosphere, announcing all students' attention for the appearance of a huge gate and a person in charge. Professor Kwon Ki-tae, professor of practical combat against demons, appears to start explaining the simulation rules. He explains that students will split into teams, and each team will start from a specific point inside the simulation arena. He concludes his explanation stating that points for activity, kills, deaths, and even damage inflicted will be calculated and student rankings broadcast in real time. Professor Kwon Ki-tae clarifies a crucial rule for the simulation, which is that in case of death, the student will be revived in a different location after 3 hours, forcing them to be extremely cautious. The name of the virtual dungeon where they will train is revealed to be Ant Tunnel. Professor Kwon Ki-tae ends his speech wishing everyone good luck and orders them to disperse to start the mission. Yo Reum and her team step through the gate to enter the virtual dungeon, where Yo Reum comments impressed by how realistic the place is. Yo Reum shows intense enthusiasm, suggesting they start hitting people immediately, but Ji-in stops her worriedly, asking if she even knows where other teams are. Yo Reum simply answers that if they run around they will inevitably bump into them, so Ji-in objects with annoyed features, explaining they don't possess the speed or immense stamina she has. Ji-in warns seriously that rushing alone might expose them to an ambush from behind, so Yo Reum mocks her words, considering it boasting about being weak. Ji-in suggests making a plan before moving, but Yo Reum interrupts her rudely, calling her a coward and ordering them to just cover her back while she handles the fighting. Things heat up when Ji-in reminds her this is a team match, not individual, so Yo Reum's eyes ignite with anger, scaring them with terrifying looks, reminding them she accepted them in her team out of pity, so there is no need for arrogance now, while Hisaki tries to calm the tense situation. Yu Ji-tae's voice cuts through the quarrel, calling out to them. Yu Ji-tae asks seriously if there is a target number of teams they want to eliminate, then asks specifically how many teams they want him to drop them behind. Ji-in is stunned, confirming this is impossible because other operators won't reveal their locations easily, while Yo Reum asks with savage enthusiasm what he means by that, then realizes his intent. Yo Reum announces with a wild desire to fight that she wants to eliminate every team she lays eyes on. The scene shifts to another place in the dungeon, where Johnny holds his swollen nose, cursing the pain he still feels. His colleagues blame him for his recklessness and messing with Yo Reum, despite family warnings. So he justifies his stance, saying he was only trying to be friendly and didn't know she was that crazy. His colleague asks him suspiciously if he was serious about kicking one of them out to include Yo Reum, so Johnny denies it very nervously, claiming he was only testing her reaction. Johnny threatens to tear her apart as soon as he catches her in revenge for what she did. But suddenly he hears a mocking voice from above repeating his words, "Tear me apart?" shocking and terrifying him. Yo Reum descends from above with immense speed, sword drawn, challenging him with a terrifying smile to try executing his threat. With a lightning-fast and violent movement, Yo Reum kicks Johnny's face, causing his HP to drop sharply, creating a massive boom amidst the group. Johnny's colleagues scream in extreme panic, announcing an ambush and readying to fight with their weapons. Yo Reum lands on the ground in a squatting position, telling them sarcastically they are wrong to call what is happening a fight. She raises her head with a demonic smile and eyes glowing blood red, announcing this isn't a fight but a one-sided hunt, calling them dogs.